Welcome back, everybody. Episode 203 of the Winners and Losers Show. It's me, your host, Hank Thompson. Hank Thompson, the guy that's going to talk you through the next couple hours of your life. Hopefully you stick with me here. Thank you. Hold on, let me adjust my seating here. Big show ahead. I'm back from my trip. Got a little hot North Wisconsin sun, and as we like to say up in North Wisconsin sunlight, we say hot out today, isn't it? That's what we say up there. No, it's the same sun. We all use the same sun. Yeah, I had a trip. Went great. Got a little video to share from that. It's going to be exciting. Big news in the TYT saga. Someone confronted Cenk about his union busting. Very fascinating. I tweeted a bunch about it. This happened while I was on the trip. Honestly, it was really annoying dealing with it on my phone because I had to go see my mom. She was thawing out shrimp, and I didn't get to see her as much time as I had hoped and eat her shrimp with her. She goes, "What do you want?" And I go, "Apples, diet." She's like, "Do you like to drink?" It's like, "Well, Diet Coke." I'm like, you know, if you're gonna get anything, I can water, diet. I'll do Diet Coke. So she buys apples, shrimp, and cheese because the lady has class. Okay, you don't just treat somebody who you love and you miss to fucking an apple and Diet Coke. Nobody does that, even if it's literally the only thing they hoped for, because they say what they mean. I don't bullshit around. I wasn't secretly hoping she would also go buy shrimp and cheese. I said apples and Diet Coke. But my mom has class. She's expecting people to come over. I'm a people. And she says, I can't just buy the guy an apple. I'm not going to just do that. I want to get him some shrimp and some cheese. She wants to like visit and entertain, and she just feels like it's not enough. And I get that. That's fine. I'm not mad about it. But she forgot the Diet Coke. Why did I tell that story? Yeah, great time. Got to see Wisconsin. Got to see beautiful weather, honestly. The sun thing I said at the beginning, I was just having a goof. It was the best Wisconsin weather we've ever had. It was like nice and cozy. It was jacket weather with perfect sunny days, but like a little wind, but very, very little wind. It was no bugs. Oh, man, it was just really, really lovely. Didn't do any fishing. Photographed a frog, and I filmed for 3 hours trying to find catch a fucking squirrel eating nuts. Squirrels or chipmunks, or I would even accept birds. But didn't, yeah, so we'll get to that. But yeah, sorry, really rambly here. Nice to see the fam. I came home all inspired to get on my horse, get back home, and be like, I'm really going to fight it out. I'm going to get home. I got a big hole to climb out of, and it's going to pick everything I got, and I'm talented, and I'm smart, and I'm funny, and I'm going to do it. And then as soon as I get home, I just like collapse into a misery pit and have been having a very lazy, unproductive, horrible week. But I've been working a little. I did go for a walk, and I did do a plank on Monday. I did like 20-second plank. I honestly surprised myself with how long I could last. I'm turning into like the salmon in the dumpsters outside Costco. That's basically the body type that I'm developing. And so I got to get a hold of that before I turn 50, which will be in 6 years. So, well, okay. Well, look, I did get some productivity done. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Fucking hell. So a bit of rambling, and we got to look at a video from my trip very quickly. And then we're going to talk about TYT. We got this whole new article I just posted. I'm not going to do a whole deep dive on the article right now, but this is one I've been working on finally. This is the one without all the bias, although there's plenty of bias right here in the opening intro bit. I don't know. It's impossible not to have editorial bias. So, like, yes, there's some degree of bias in this, but it is mostly just like dispassionate presentation of details and stuff that lays out the Young Turks version of why the union started and my version of why the union started. We have a bit of a disagreement. TYT doesn't want to have this disagreement. They're definitely, I'm sure, listen, I'm not in their heads, but I can guarantee they're not glad that I'm doing what I'm doing. You'd think that a company professing honesty would be glad that someone's telling the truth, but I'm telling the truth about Cenk, and I'm telling the truth about the Young Turks and how they treat workers, and that they lied about their employees in terms of how the union started. That's what the film Tell the Truth, Cenk, is about. We'll get back to this. I'm already starting to go off on it. But yeah, they're all about the honesty thing, at least as far as it serves their marketing ambitions and purposes. But the honesty part, where like someone's actually showing receipts of various reasons. Look at all this shit. Look at all this crap. Look at all that crap. Look at all that stuff. Then they're not that interested in letting their audience know what actually happened, because Cenk doesn't want us to tell his audience an honest answer about why they unionized. And we're going to see this really soon when we get to this video about of Cenk being called out. They took callers, and somebody, a brave hero, called in and called him a union buster and asked him if he's a union buster, and he completely denied it. He goes, "No, I'm definitely not a union buster." And the guy goes, "But there's evidence proving otherwise." And he goes, "What evidence?" And then there's more to that video. And that happened on my trip, and I was waiting to go get my mom's thawed out shrimp. This is how I was trying to tell this story earlier. And I was like, God damn it. Now I got to do a whole thread response. So I did an entire long ass tweet thing. Just going to jump it a little bit. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So when Cenk says no evidence, just to give people the quick rundown, here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. Let's go tighter on the shot. Look at all this evidence. Look at all this evidence. It's just all the labor, all the stuff. So there's a whole bunch of evidence as for why TYT is a union buster. So now at least Cenk has successfully reframed things as whether he is a union buster or not. And we're going to get to that. So it's an amazing thing that he just denied it. Anyway, I'm starting to jump ahead with all my thoughts on all that. So anyway, and then after that, I've got some Trump stuff, just some random shit. And then the dancing thing he did. He danced on stage for 39 minutes. Put on a Kulinski for masculine dancing and strong masculine male behavior. Speaking of which, I sure invited the internet's product. And I'm trying to be polite here, not use words, but I posted a video that's like 55 minutes, me rambling about manhood and stuff in relation to a Matt Walsh appearance on a couple things. And I don't even have an audience that will turn up to, I mean, I'm not saying it's like my audience won't defend me. I'm saying like, I don't have the foundation to like invite the ghouls of the internet to come up and be like weird in my comments. So all I got out of that is because I'm just a small show. All I got out of posting that was just a bunch of dudes being weird in my comments. Like, I don't know, that the manhood sphere is definitely fraught with menhood, if you know what I mean, if you know what I'm saying. So, all right. Yeah. So anyway, a little bit of fun stuff, then TYT stuff galore. I'll probably go on and on and on. I haven't really sorted my thoughts out completely, but there's a bunch. And then we'll do the dancing clinic with the future dear leader and the future forever dear leader. They're going to have an AI of this guy as president for like the next 900 years. It's going to be the worst. We really are just like the society that becomes the Borg. Our role in the universe is just like, oh yeah, we're just going to all become just like these brain implanted freaks, just staggering about out of subordinating our wills completely to some freakish intention beast. Okay, good times. All right, so took me a while to get these damn images to play. I was trying them in Google Maps and stuff. I was doing a bunch of shit. But here we are in DaVinci. This gives me a lot more control over how I present stuff. So not much to this one here. If you guys are aware of astronomy, which you are because you live in space, the sun will spit out big old blasts every once in a while. They're called sunspots or solar flares. And these things, in addition to the usual wave, or it's not waves, it's like a constant wave. The usual output, it's like something like 600 trillion tons a second or some shit. It's this crazy amount of mass that is being converted into high energy particles that are then zapped out into all directions away from the sun. Pretty cool thing. Pretty cool celestial body, honestly. And we get to live close enough to it to feel its warmth and protected by the Earth's magnetosphere and the atmosphere. And it does a lot for us. And it's really a shame that we're letting about like 2,000 dickheads just like wreck the whole thing, because it's fun to have weird sinks in homes that they don't use. I've been in rich people houses. They love their weird sinks. They love their fucked up spouts. They love their stone thingy. This one had a goddamn thin sink for vegetables, just a fucking like 6-inch wide sink at the corner of their thing. Now, I wouldn't make weird sinks illegal. I would just tax billionaires out of existence. And actually, I would tax probably. And I'm feeling generous right now, so I'll let you have $179 million. I'll cut it off there. Nobody should have more than $4 million in assets, honestly. It's fucking ridiculous. Oh, but my dad. Okay, fine. $6 million. You could have $6 million in assets. So anyway, the sun is this awesome thing up there, and it's really wonderful that we get to be near it, and it does things to us, one of which is the Aurora Borealis. When the sun flares go hard and they're aimed at us, they can mess up our satellite communications. Oh, no. But that creates usually conditions for excessive sounds like it's bad, but like for very energetic Aurora Borealis, which is when the magnetic spheres of the Earth intervene. I mean, they're always doing this, but we're so lucky to have this. There's an iron core and something called the dynamo of the metal content of the massive magma chambers of the various layers inside the Earth's core, and that metal produces a magnetic sphere, or a magnetosphere, which is this wonderful, wonderful defensive thing against the sun's radiation, or else life on Earth would not be what it is now. Maybe mold, or like maybe microbes, but not complex. It's awesome. Should be lucky we have it. And when the sun blasts off, the aurora goes crazy. God, why am I doing so much here? And it comes down and it goes and it gets channeled to the North Pole and the South Pole. That's how this sort of smooth, curvy stuff of space, these invisible smooth curves of space work. It's awesome. And it makes things so much more energetic in terms of the northern lights, the big green and white curtains you might have seen pictures of. Sometimes there's pink. It's really spectacular. I've seen it from Wisconsin a couple of times. It's quite stunning. And no wonder our ancestors made up a whole bunch of crazy bullshit about magic and gods and stuff. Seriously. They had to come up with some reasons. They had static electricity, orgasms, Aurora Borealis, honey. They had all kinds of incredible stuff. Comets, dreams. Well, of course they were going to make up a whole bunch of crazy, stupid bullshit to explain why autistic people are annoying. I can say that because I want. No. Okay. All right. That's not the origin of religion, by the way. All right. Oh, that probably ruined a bunch of people's. Okay, so my brother goes. We'd already gotten back to Illinois. My brother says, "Gotta go take pictures of the night sky, but use your camera's night feature so that because I couldn't see it with the naked eye. Look at what I got." And he showed me pictures. Now, of course, I don't have those on the computer loaded up. What kind of professional do you think I am? So my brother says he shows me this pictures he took, and he got this picture. Look at this thing. Holy shit. My brother nailed it. And he goes, I can't see that with my eyes. That's from my camera with the night sky on. Look at this. Beautiful. Unholy magics. Ascending, descending from above. The weeping rivers of tears from the angels crying about God's genitals. Look at that. So I said, fuck that. I'm not going to let my younger brother outshine me. Hell no. Fuck that. So I said, all right, sure, I'll try. So I activate the night mode on the camera. Didn't even really know how to do it. And this is what I got. Look at this drab. Look at this boring ass sky. Nothing. Couldn't see shit. Honestly, I could see these stars better with the night mode. So it actually kind of worked. Took this one. Terrible. Horrible. But I didn't give up. This is why you don't give up. I looked at my Lance Armstrong bracelet and I said, what would I do now? What would Lance Armstrong do to live strong? I drew him in there with the phone's drawing tools. Huh? This was a long walk for just a terrible payoff, wasn't it? Looks pretty cool, though. Couldn't you imagine if you saw that? That'd be fun. I would definitely look up. I'd interrupt a friend's viewing of some British detective show. It's like, come outside. Let's watch this crazy lights up in the sky. All right, so I'm getting into the meme business. And as you guys know, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I love Rings of Power. It's been a wonderful time. I've actually been impressed with season 2 because season 1 was complete dog shit. Season 2 was like dog shit with a couple squirts of of Honey, to use something we all probably enjoy. Season 2 had some promising stuff. I could go on and on about it. I actually do kind of want to stop with all this politics nonsense and talk about movies and shows and games and things, because I think I'm about to crack open and break into a million pieces, because it's just driving me absolutely nuts. I got so much foundational stuff in my life I got to sort out before I can get upset about fucking JD Vance and stuff. But hey, what are you gonna do? Oh yeah, so I'm making memes, and I made this meme. What do you think? Do you think I have a future in memes? Nobody does it better, I wrote. What do I mean by that? You figure that out. My only rule with my memes is they have to be mysterious and unknowable. Otherwise, if they make sense, then someone would understand them, and that's not interesting to share on the internet. So yeah, these are the guys. This is Elf Warrior guy. This is Galadriel. She's like 800,000 years old. This is her boss. He's the king. They just had a big fight. This is Elrond, played by Hugo Weaving of the Lord of the Rings movies. It's not actually Hugo Weaving. It's some other guy. This guy's an okay actor. I don't like the casting. I just find him kind of annoyingly... I think they were going for elven smugness, and he nails it. I don't think he's a bad actor, but I just find the casting odd for that role. But anyway, he got to do a whole bunch of like going, "Rah!" So he's letting his chops out more now that they're having some fights and stuff with their weapons and things. So, you know, the heroes assembled, and as we learn, nobody does it better. I don't know what that's supposed to do. I don't know. I was going to put it on the internet, but now it's on my podcast. So anyway, here I was. I set up a camera up in the Wisconsin woods, the yard near some woods. I did multiple takes of these. I filmed it in 4K. This shot here has been processed a couple of times, so I don't have the fun. I haven't really messed with the original footage. And I'm thinking I'm going to be a cat hero, because I'm going to put this video on YouTube for cats to watch. And they will, because my roommate will put YouTubes on for our cat, kitty cat, as I call her sometimes, Eva, who I'm desperately hoping to find a home for, because I cannot fucking take having a goddamn animal in my room. What a stupid thing. And anyway, she likes YouTube. She watches YouTube. She gets in on the squirrels and the birds and the rabbits, and she even jumped at it once. It's very adorable. Roommate likes to watch her watch TV, which is fine. No problems. And so I have previously tried to do a cat YouTube channel. It's called Every Day is Cat Day. You can congratulate me in the comments for that perfect name. I know it's a wonderful name. Every Day is Cat Day. And my goal was to make myself a millionaire by providing quality entertainment for cats, because there's a whole genre of it. I have a video of rats running around, and one of them picks up a piece of cheese. It's very cute. And then I made some some top-down koi pond ones to put in hours and hours and hours. And I don't think they never got out of the algorithm hell, so they didn't break out. But I was going to kind of rebuild, start doing some YouTube stuff more. I'm a video producer / editor, and I am desperate to make money and to be able to live, because I genuinely am about to have to cancel Photoshop and Premiere, like my Adobe account and my phone. I need income so fucking bad. Oh my God. I'm going to cry if I keep going on about it. I'm so stressed out. But what I should be doing is just putting out videos and making stuff, if that's the fucking thing I say I'm good at, right? I'm not necessarily good at making money off of videos, but if you need some shit edited, I'm good at that part. So I set up this camera, my phone, really nice 4K footage on it. It's an iPhone 13, like the second one, I think. So it's got a pretty good camera, really pretty amazing. And I got some really quite lovely shots, and I filmed for about 3 hours in roughly 25-minute chunks, because I had to sort of sort out if that would be enough gigabytes. But I happen to have quite a bit of space opened up on the phone, and it gave me a lot to do. My dad does, like, we do projects and shit, and I have to help. And I don't mind. I'm happy to help, but you know, you're always just like, oh, do I have a tick? Do I have a tick now? Did I get a tick? You're thinking that constantly, which is, you can also get a tick being out in the yard too. But as soon as I dial in on one of my weird video projects, I get like real focused, and I feel good, and I find a whole bunch of energy for it. What am I rambling? This is the worst. And so, I had all these fantasies about taking over squirrel YouTube or cat YouTube and becoming the new kid in town with some cute chipmunks. They're very cute. They've got regular squirrels up there too. There's like all different kinds of squirrels all over the world. There's gray, black, brown kinds. There's one called red squirrel though that are up there, and they're like a different breed. They're not just like a reddish version of the gray squirrel. They're like a whole different thing, and they're like a little bigger than chipmunks, and they're fucking adorable as hell. I saw one running around, and they're so cute. Can you see these things squirreling about, chipmunking around, rummaging? There's so much rummage to rummage through in this environment where they live. And so I cracked open some peanut shells, not all of them, because I figured it'd be fun to watch them sort of struggle. You know, who doesn't like watching an animal struggle? And it was an exciting time. Even at one point, my dad looked out the window and he goes, "Peanuts are still there." And I was like, "Dad, there's sound. That's going to be in the cat video. And now the cat owners are going to hear a man distantly say, maybe, peanuts are still there." No, I'm not really mad that my dad made noise, but I do get like, quiet on the set. We got cat YouTube videos we're making. It's going to be awesome. I might still put them up though. They're just this shot with nothing happening except like the leaves moving around a little bit. And the light, you can see the light change. So here's what I did capture though. I want you to keep your eye on this peanut in the back. I set a, see this one back here? I was, I placed a few different ones. I did focus lock, by the way, on the food here. So that's why these are on good focus. And this is what we caught. Are you ready? I'm going to hit the space bar. Yes! Yes, baby. Look what happened. Fuck, I want to click. Look at that. I got a little chipmunk. What an adorable. See, it's a little blurry. Kind of annoying that didn't come up to the food. Kind of looks like he sort of is like, and then he jumps and then sees the camera rig. It's a brick, a glove, and my phone. And it's like, what the fuck? This is crazy. But you see the peanut in the back? It knocked it off. So that's what indicated to me that when I was scrubbing on my phone, I saw that one of the peanuts was suddenly gone. And decided to like dial in. I finally found this little moment here. It's like 4 seconds. Go, baby. Look at that. And gone. Didn't even take a snack. Knocked over the other piece. I ended up just throwing all this shit in the yard. So eventually I'm sure the squirrels and birds had, they had their way up about the snacks. But yeah, really, really cute. Really, really fun and cute. Very disappointing though. Just devastatingly disappointed by the lack of showmanship, to be frank. Clearly this squirrel has no interest in its future. It would have become a YouTube celeb overnight. And I think I just said squirrel. This is a chipmunk. Look at that. Look at that body coloring. They have little like stripes above and below the eyes. That's kind of cool. Kind of matches the stripes on their back. Looks like leaf litter, sort of. But yeah, that's about the most focus you get right here in this shot. Yeah. What a bummer. What a bummer. Pretty cool. Yep, pretty cool. I just want to this is just podcasting for me from now on. All right, so that was fun. We did that. That's what happened. Okay. All right. Oh, just real quick, I did a TikTok. Gonna be probably getting on TikTok again, so go over to TikTok. My name is Wiklok, Wiklok. I don't like that name. Got to because it requires explanation. Bad idea. But Wiklok on TikTok. That's me. Go find it. I made this one. It's been played 715 times. Ah, fuck. Shit. Oh, that was the best part too, right there. Look at that. Go to TikTok and watch this. Look at these trees, man. Look how beautiful this fucking place was. Right here. See the pink? The orange and pinks up at the top of the tree? Here's the money shot. Ready? Oh, that's it right there. I don't know why I did this one upside down. I just felt like it. Oh, baby. All right, yeah. So TikTok's editor is kind of a junk-ass editor. You'll have to go there and watch the rest of it yourself. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Let's get into the TYT story, all right? Here we go. This is exciting. Remember, as I said, as you guys know, my name is Hank. We're going to do a clip here probably, so I'm resetting. My name is Hank. I worked at the Young Turks. I helped start the union there, and I'm doing a project called Tell the Truth, Cenk, a documentary film. Look in the description. And a playlist link on my YouTube channel here that is correcting the record on what the Young Turks told their audience about why the union started. I was very close to why it started. My working conditions were central to why it started. I am not guessing on what happened. I'm an original source on this project, and it was very annoying that I had to start the fucking union because I wasn't getting health insurance or paid days off or any benefits. They had me classified as an independent contractor and then as a part-time employee, even though I was working full-time hours. I've been making a stink about it online. I'm sure it's going to ruin my future employment prospects. It's just a thing I've decided to try to do that I also often wish I hadn't decided to do because it's been nothing but stress and annoyance. But it feels like an injustice that wasn't properly addressed. Then Cenk runs for Congress. We'd already been secretly unionizing, and the guy becomes a politician. Several months into us unionizing. In fact, it was well over a year into the, if you count the first Young Turks workers' attempt to start a union, which is about 18 months before Cenk became a politician. It stalled due to a round of firings. I end up working back there as these classifications for zero health care, which is nuts. I'm working for Cenk fucking Uygur, and I'm not getting any health care. And I decided to wake up that union drive, not knowing where it's going to end up, but just being like, I got to do something. They're not going to give me health insurance. I'm not going to get paid days off. I don't get bonus. I don't get any benefits working here full time, working alongside people who are classified differently than me. And so I asked for help from them. I asked for it to be fixed, and they changed my status to my classification to part-time temporary, which is bullshit. I'm giving you too much of the story here. So I know why we started the union, and other workers had their other reasons, and there's probably some of the reasons that will never see the light of day. But then when Cenk is now then becomes a politician, and the union comes forward, I get fired about 5 weeks before the union comes forward, and then Cenk decides to bust the union, to reject the union. He refuses voluntary recognition, which is a delay tactic. I mean, that itself is union busting, but the purpose of that is to create a time to do union busting, to then insist on a second arbitrator supervised NLRB election conducted two months later or something, to give them time to exert their influence over their workers in order to try to disrupt the attempt to start a union at the guy's business. He's running for Congress while union busting. It's amazing. Included in that union busting was this lie that the reason the union started is that it's a political ploy by Cenk's congressional opponents, by Nancy Pelosi, IATSE, and Christy Smith. The thesis of the film, I'll just read it here from this article, is that the false narrative Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks spread about the origins of TYT Union, that it was a ploy by Nancy Pelosi and her minions to disrupt Cenk's 2019 to 2020 campaign for Congress as part of TYT's union busting campaign, was not a mistake. It was a lie intended to prevent scrutiny into Cenk's employment practices, to avoid being asked, why did your workers want a union? And so I wrote this up. This article is very like emotional. It has a lot of like kind of interpretive analysis and gets into like some philosophy, ideology stuff just about the way that they use leverage. And it sort of zeroes in on the concept of leverage with TYT's and Cenk's number two at the Young Turks is this guy, Jack Gerard, who is a former health insurance executive. His LinkedIn, it was public, and it showed that he spent like at least 12 years working for Kaiser Permanente and Blue Cross of California, or something like that, as a health insurance executive. And so this is the guy that like kind of brought in some corporate structure and some practices to the Young Turks. I can't give you the full picture of all those, but you know, like goal worksheets and, you know, just corporate mindset kind of stuff. And you got to be a real, like, I got to be careful because they'll probably sue me or something, but you got to imagine how low of an ethical foundation a person has to have to be a health insurance executive. Like, you go to work deliberately intending to harm people because that's how you make money. The less help you provide, the more money you can squeeze from them, and then the less money you have to give back, the more your profits go up and you get your bonuses. And it's one of those jobs that is just truly like unbelievable that we tolerate it in our world. So people said, dude, this is too much. What's just all this damn crazy bias and all your bullshit. I'm paraphrasing, but that was a few comments in a YouTube video I did, similar to like the way I'm being right now. And so I was like, you know what? Yeah, of course. I mean, and I had intended to do this too, but also like it made me realize, like, yeah, a version without the bullshit would be wise. We should do that. We're going to go through that a little bit right now. And then we're going to get to the part of this show where Cenk is confronted for being a union buster by a caller, which is really entertaining and fun. That'll be the meat of today's episode, really. So I finally finished this. I actually did this little green design. You see that up there? That's kind of fun. I don't know why I thought it needed that, but it stayed, so I left it in. So now on baldontheinside.substack.com, we now have a new piece just published today, October 18th, for everybody to enjoy. This is called Two Versions, One Truth. Evidence for my claims about the Young Turks. Subheading, see for yourself. Documents, emails, articles, tweets supporting the claims I'm making about Cenk Uygur's employment practices and the two versions of why Young Turks workers unionized. So, as you recall, since I just said it, there are two versions that are now being bandied about. If Cenk could have his way, I'm sure the only version that anyone ever heard was the lie that it was a political ploy by his congressional opponents. But because I believe in the principles that they sell to their audience, that you're supposed to be honest and you should tell the truth and that you should speak truth to power. And this is like the stuff that I believed in 2013 when I sold my business to move across the country to work for the Young Turks. There's a strange history to that whole thing. It completely bothered me that not only did I have to go through this whole thing without health insurance and health care and any benefits except for the final 2 months of this 14-month stretch. So I had to start a union just to try to get some to be able to go to a doctor at the Young Turks. Then on the way out, as the union busting becomes public, the guy lies about me. The guy attacks me and my friends for how it started by saying that we were either manipulated or that we were in on it somehow, which is what you have to conclude based on their version. I think that Cenk thinks we were manipulated. I don't necessarily believe that he believes we were in on it, although I wouldn't be surprised if he suspected that, but how can you prove that? So that's based on the emails that he had sent, which were made public by Alex Thompson, the writer of the Politico piece that's in here. So there's 4 articles that you could read if you'd like to get a baseline for this. If you would rather not hear from me, let's click on my handy little navigation link. These give a really good background. There's a Huffington Post and In These Times article, article in the New Republic, and one in Politico. The Politico one has links to the writer's Twitter, Alex Thompson's Twitter, that has the postings of the emails Cenk sent to his unionizing workers. So we'll actually, yeah. Well, okay. All right. So this whole thing is going to serve what I hope is, I'll just scroll down a little bit. You can see kind of the intro. The intro does have, I mean, I can't say that it's like completely without personality or editorial. I suppose I could have tried to make it as sterile as possible, but the purpose of this article I have written here, there are 2 versions of a story, why workers at the Young Turks unionized. My hope is that the following information will enable you to assess which version is true. The story I'm telling, working conditions, or the one Young Turks founder and CEO Cenk Uygur told, political opponents. Whether you already have an opinion or are just finding this, I ask you to put on your objectivity cap and consider the following information carefully. I won't pretend to be objective, but that's why I'm wearing my objectivity cap for this one. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know. I write here in a block pull quote or something. I would be glad to provide full access to all my documents to a reputable journalist. TYT could also provide the same documents. So I'm using information that the Young Turks has. All this information that's in this piece is data sourced from Gusto records, invoices, emails, like contract. It's all stuff that they have. Nothing is fabricated. Nothing is made up. It would be rather stupid and risky and dumb to make it all up. Yeah, I'll just finish reading this, I guess. Why the hell not? My previous piece detailing why being classified so as to receive health insurance. Oh, God damn it. I wrote this wrong. I got to fix this. Fuck. Okay, so it makes it seem like I get them. I got to change that. That's very important. So as to not receive... Shit. Okay, hold on. Yeah, all right. Pause. Okay. I put the word no in there. That's such an important word. Shit. All right. I guess sometimes there are benefits to the fact that nobody looks at the shit you do. So my previous piece detailing why being classified so as to receive no health insurance, paid personal days, paid holidays, and bonus, among other benefits, motivated myself and coworkers to unionize at the Young Turks was written in conjunction with the documentary Tell the Truth, Cenk, to counter the narrative Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, and the Young Turks put out that the union originated as a ploy by Nancy Pelosi and her allies to damage Cenk's 2019-2020 congressional campaign. In addition to evidence, it contains emotion, a biased perspective, and overwrought analysis, as does much of what I've communicated on my podcast. Linking to TYT-related videos and stuff here. I'm wondering if David Sirota knows that Cenk is a union buster. Cenk doesn't think he's a union buster, which actually adds a very interesting wrinkle to this whole drama thing here. So back to the story. My personality isn't small. I am prone to an off-putting forwardness and the unusual nature of a former employee. Go away, share quote thing. Got it. Fucking how did I just get it to go away the first? Go away. Right click? No. Okay, I'll just read it. My personality isn't small. I am prone to an off-putting forwardness, and the unusual nature of a former employee making claims in such a manner could give one reason to be dismissive. While I will defend and expand upon the interpretive factors and will continue to be upfront about the emotional nature of this project, I fully agree that a presentation absent all that is an appropriate thing to do. Emotions are a drag. I get it. Hey kids, I'm here to talk to you about emotions. I'm at the gymnasium, inspiring teens. Wouldn't that be a great way to make a living? The nature, that's not in the article. Here we go, back to the article. The nature of this project is about trust and credibility, so I'm understanding why some might be skeptical of mine. Totally fair. I have a lot of first impressions to make. I have no reason to lie or fabricate evidence. Doing so is unethical and would invite rightful civil and or criminal inquiry far beyond the already uncomfortable level of legal risk I'm at. Telling the story honestly is stressful enough. Why would I make any of this up? Why would I do this if it wasn't true? The conclusion contains the crux of the matter. Two versions of an event. One is true, another isn't. Okay, that's the intro. I hope that's not too, like, I'm trying to influence the jury kind of feeling. People go, oh, this isn't really... But then the rest of it is all very just like, here's information, here's data. This is what happened at this point. There's a couple little interpretive moments here. I think we'll get back to this at some day, and I'll go over TYT's version in more detail. Honestly, I just, this for today's podcast, I just want to get to the union busting thing. But this is the like the evidence. This isn't evidence for anything, but this is their claim. So you can see their claim, their version. So I'm showing the communication that they put out that shows that why, when I say what their version is, that I'm basing that on stuff they actually said. We'll do it a little bit here. So TYT's version. Workers were manipulated into unionizing by Cenk Uygur's political opponents as a ploy to harm his 2019-2020 congressional campaign for CA25 special election to replace Katie Hill against establishment favorite Christy Smith. I'd actually put on Twitter, this was written wrong. I just had it written to replace Christy Smith, and I didn't think about it at all. I just had, like, my proofreading stopped after that for some reason. I didn't, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, shit. I think I put that on Twitter, and I was like, oh, fuck, I think I should have read that again. But yes, this is accurate. To replace Katie Hill against establishment favorite Christy Smith. All right. So I kind of just go through the beats here where TYT Union came forward with first they came forward on the 12th, by the way, was when their first tweet went up. But the union busting became public on February 21st, 2020, with the TYT Union and IATSE both putting out statements about the Young Turks rejecting voluntary recognition, refusing to say yes to card check. Young Turks came out and said, no, that's not they say it's inaccurate. This is some bullshit right here where they go, I can't highlight this, but they say, we offered to recognize the union upon completion of an expedited arbitrator supervised secret ballot election within days. The union did not even respond to our proposal. So they want to recognize, they want to call it, this whole time, this theme, one of the patterns you'll notice is that they're constantly insisting that what they were doing is voluntarily recognizing the union, even after, like, the second election. Cenk uses that phrasing, which is complete bullshit. You didn't voluntarily recognize. If you said no to it at card check, you lost your chance to do the voluntary recognition. After that, it's involuntary. It's not how it works. But, so this is the first indication of the conspiracy, is this yellow highlight here. The fact that IATSE has failed to respond to TYT, instead opting to issue misleading statements, suggests that there are other motives at play. I remember reading that and being like, what the fuck are they talking about? What other motives? I want health insurance. I didn't like the way I was treated at that company. There was severe ethical boundaries being violated, and not to mention a culture of incredible disrespect that other people felt. What other motives? Think about it. Think about being working full-time hours for somebody who's calling you part-time so that they can save your money that you're earning. Think of how disrespectful you have to, how zero, honestly. You don't respect somebody. You don't do that to somebody you respect. Have someone come work for you, and you're going to paperwork label them part-time, but they're going to work 40 hours a week, and you're keeping their Labor Day money. You're keeping their holiday money. You're keeping the money they earned. So you can kind of get a sense for the kind of respect that Cenk Uygur offers his workers in his workplace. So then Cenk, on the same day, February 21st, put out this tweet. Oh, look, why am I doing this whole thing? This is a lot of this is in the movie too, by the way. Oh, look, in a totally uncoordinated way, I'm sure the candidate that IATSE is currently canvassing for puts out the same false attack against us. And this is on the day that she's participating in the only forum she's ever come to. I wonder if she'll bring it up. So genuine. So he's being sarcastic. IATSE had endorsed Christy Smith. IATSE is a huge organization. I found out about that December, maybe January, probably. I'm not even sure when. It never seemed relevant to me. But it is the foothold that the Young Turks used for putting out this suspicious narrative, right? So, like, if you're just kind of casually looking at this, and this is explored in the film a bunch, a lot of people use the word fishy. A lot of people pointed to this because they still trust Cenk here, right? Like, this is the whole point of this video and this whole production, is that Cenk knew that these people trusted him, and he was willing to take advantage of that to hide who he really is, which is a guy that uses classification to deny workers benefits when they're working full time. That's the whole thing here. He'd rather be known as a union buster than a guy who does that stuff. Because if he had to explain to his audience, oh yeah, my workers did have a genuine union here, they would say, well, what were their grievances? Why were they unionizing? And those are questions he does not want to answer. So I'm going to fucking answer him. That's what this whole thing is. But the fact that IATSE had endorsed Smith, gives a little credence to the idea that maybe something was being politically motivated. And I address that in this. This is sort of a interpretive sidebar, so this isn't super dispassionate. But I feel like if you read this and you hear this, you'll agree that I'm being very fair. And I go way out of my way to be very fair about this, because what happens next after... So, in short, they were right to be suspicious because something strange was occurring during a very unusual circumstance, but they weren't right to proceed without fact-checking, right? So, as I write here, IATSE endorsing Christy Smith is a separate issue from whether I deserved health insurance and paid time off for full-time video editing, or whether other TYT employees deserve the freedom to collectively bargain for better working conditions by joining the union that represents professional production and post-production workers. As shown below, IATSE was receptive in 2018 to the Young Turks workers' first entreaty. Love that word, entreaty. And again, when we reached out in the fall of 2019. So we were in touch with IATSE twice. I wasn't there for the 2018 round. But that's written in the articles, by the way. And the workers showed emails to the writer of the article to prove that these happened. And IATSE was receptive. There was no indications that they were politically motivated. Nobody knew Cenk was going to run for Congress in a special election to replace Katie Hill against establishment favorite Christy Smith. Nobody knew that. Yet twice IATSE was down for helping the Young Turks workers unionize, and only the workers that qualify for production and post-production labor. They don't take everybody. That comes up in a second here. I said I wasn't going to go through this, and now I'm just going through it, so whatever. That said, I write, and I bolded that said, considering the unfair treatment Team Cenk had received from mainstream sources, paranoia was justifiable given the fog of war of an intense and novel political campaign. But before going public with insinuations of conspiracy, the proper next step was fact-checking. Did I press escape? Does that get rid of the share quote? That is so irritating. It's just driving me nuts. Not all stories are confirmable, but very few are this confirmable. In this case, original sources were feet away, or in my case, a DM away. This did not happen. They didn't check. This is critical. Okay, this is critical right here. Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks company account, Cenk Uygur, put out information that they did not fact check to their audience about the origination of the union at the Young Turks. If it was a sincere mistake, let's just say that's what happened, and then they learn, they go, oh, wait a minute, this is actually like a genuine thing our workers did, and it's really kind of crappy that we just smeared them publicly. Because it's not just that they said that our integrity was up for grabs because we were stupid enough to be duped by his political opponents. As I've said in a previous podcast, I'm very good at sniffing out bullshit. I think I said if I could sniff bullshit at the airport, if they made it illegal, I could get a job sniffing it. Yeah, anyway, that was a funny line. Sorry, this is how I podcast. I'm terrible at it. I would have been suspicious if all of a sudden after my boss runs for Congress, people get in touch with me and my friends and try to start a union out of nowhere. That would have been really freaking suspicious to me. So there's that integrity part of it, but also workers, myself included, spoke to journalists. They showed emails to the journalists that investigated, that did those 4 articles. So if you accept that the Young Turks story is the case, then, and this is not a big logical leap, I think you'll agree. And if you think I'm wrong, let me know. Tell me where I'm missing this here. But in order for TYT's version to be true, that means that the workers all lied to the journalists when they spoke to them about their working conditions and the reasons they were unionizing. So Cenk has to prove that I lied. Cenk has to prove that the other workers lied. Now, they all did it anonymously, except me, because they were afraid of retaliation. Cenk Uygur fired someone from the Young Turks organizing committee, the bargaining unit, the same person who he threatened at their first captive audience meeting, which is written about in the Huffington Post article. So in order to believe their version, you have to accept that we lied and that we fabricated the emails that we used to prove that we had been in touch with IATSE beforehand. Otherwise, Cenk Uygur's version falls apart. If what we're saying is true, what I'm saying is true, really, So keep that in mind. They didn't fact check this because they didn't want to. Oh, that's what I was saying. If it was a mistake, let's say they like were just all heated up because of the campaign, and in Anna's defense, she took a ton of flack for this. This was a really stressful time for her, and I've seen her say stuff about that. I could just tell by working there until early January when I got fired. But everybody was a little on edge because of this whole thing. It's a big, unusual situation. And it would have made, like, she deserves to be called out. She's in this film because she didn't do she didn't fact check this. But I'm kind of going a step further and saying, well, things were intense. She should probably have to address that. But also she trusted her source, from what I gather. It seems like she believed the story that she was sharing, which means that Cenk let her deceive his audience on his behalf because he knew she trusted him. Her loyalty got her a role in a union busting documentary. And that's the reward she got for her loyalty to Cenk, because she's a very good soldier for him. You know what I mean? They have a long history together and a, more overlapped kind of relationship than most professional partnerships / he's her boss. Like, it's a strange one. It's a bit different than the usual employer type thing, but that's fine. I know everybody's been on Anna's case about her ideological shifts of late. So I tweeted out my role at the time, and they've known me for years. I'm just summarizing this. So I was willing to talk, and they could have checked the facts. They just had to talk to people that were in the same room as them, or they could have DM'd me, and I would have told them why we started the union and what happened. They didn't check the facts. That's a huge ethical lapse. And this is why, Anna's in the film. She affirmed the entire thing. Her imprimatur, to use another big word. So Anna tweets out Cenk's version. She retweets it saying that she felt I'm going to kind of rush through this a little bit more. I'll probably get back to this another day. She felt extremely uncomfortable with IATSE's endorsement of Cenk's congressional opponent, who does not share our progressive values. Well, Anna, does the progressive values we're speaking of here include using classification trickery to deny someone working full-time the ability to go see a doctor and deny them paid days off? My measly ass $173.04 for fucking 8 hours of a day off. It sucked, man. Like, like other people at work get paid for like a Christmas holiday and then you don't. Like, just put yourself in your own workplace and feel like that sucks. This is the fairness shit that we all kind of just expect that we want from our world, and the slightest bit of fairness. Just treat me with the same disrespect you treat other people. Like, this is one of Anna's bigger tweets. I think that this one kind of nails it. She says she's personally supportive of unions. Well, let me read it. She says, while I'm personally supportive of unions, comma, that's a great way to say I'm not for this union. This feels like it's done in bad faith. The fact that this all blew up on the day of Cenk's debate is also extremely suspicious. So she introduces the word suspicious and bad faith, that there's some bad faith happening here. And she also cites her source for this is her feelings, it seems like. She says it feels. Same up here. She says, I feel extremely uncomfortable. I don't know. You could have checked with the source of information instead of going off the lies Cenk was telling and your feelings. But then she tweets this out. This is a response to somebody. She writes, the only thing I can say as a worker, me and several of my colleagues knew nothing about this union until this week. They claim they're representing the will of the majority of TYT employees, including producers. I highlighted that part in yellow. But we never even got a chance to vote or share what we feel. There's that word feel again. I thought I had too many feelings. If there's a day where I can talk, Anna and I can have an honest conversation with each other about this experience, that would be really fascinating. I'm a nobody. Nobody gives a shit about me. But I'm very curious where she's going to end up once she gets wind of this whole project, because like, I feel like she has the integrity to respond. I don't think Cenk does. Cenk clearly has a lot to lose if he actually acknowledges it, which is what we're about to get to with the Union Buster denial, which is freaking fascinating. But I don't know. It's interesting. I feel Anna catches so much scrutiny on the internet that it's got to be just dizzying. in a lot of ways. So yeah. Anyway, so she writes here in the yellow part, they claim they're representing the will of the majority of the TYT employees, including producers. Not true. Never true. Couldn't be true. Impossible to be true. Okay. IATSE does not represent producers, hosts, executives, marketing, office personnel, assistants, unpaid interns, or unpaid mods, or human resources. Only post-production and production. Thus, the group of people that joined the union were editors, graphics, and studio technicians, here as Cenk acknowledges on his tweet, April 9th, 2020. We're going to get back to this unpaid mods thing in a moment here. So there's a reason that's got a link. I'm not going to go too deep on that, but we will probably talk about it at a later date in more detail too. So anyway, this post here shows a couple things. Cenk clarifying, not that he was doing this in response to Anna's tweet. This is like 2 months later, mind you. But just that IATSE doesn't represent those other groups. This could not have been true, this one Anna put up here. So somehow she was getting bad information, she was sharing bad information, and she wasn't fact-checking it. But like I said, this whole experience was really weird and really intense. And that's kind of like, just to kind of cap it up, because I don't think I quite said it. But like, if they had said, now there's a union, we've been under assault from the mainstream media constantly, New York Times smeared, a lot of this is in the movie. Like the New York Times smeared us, CNN, LA Times, we had to Bernie Sanders endorsement, unendorsement. We're kind of spun up in this fight for Congress. Now there's a union. What the hell? We're going to take a little time to confirm what this is, and we're going to make a decision about the union. I would have been like, well, I know the truth, but okay, fine. You know what? They're right. It's a pretty weird situation overall. Give them a week or two, do some fact checking, check it, and then tell your audience the truth about the union. You could probably even spin it a little bit. You might not have motivated me to come completely out with all this crap all this time later. Or like I was saying earlier, if they did the no fact checking mistake because of the fog of war, right? They were just caught up in the battle. And then like a couple months goes by and they go, wait a minute, we really did kind of just tell our audience that something that wasn't true. They would then come forward and say, guys, we got an admission. We're embarrassed. During the campaign, as you know, it was pretty intense, and we made a mistake. We put out information about the origin of the union here that was not correct. It wasn't true. We regret that. We're going to make a statement, and then, like, you know, probably some sort of peaceful offering type statement from TYT Union, because they generally want to go along to get along. They didn't do that either, right? They covered it up, in fact. And Anna went on the Nomiki Konst show that summer, and she air quoted union busting. I don't know the video of it right here. There's a screen cap of it in one of the other articles. And Cenk referred to it as a bumpy start later on. And I've caught him saying a couple little things about it, but very, very little addressing. There was one quote where I saved where he said something like, when I was running for Congress, I got raked over the grill or for something that like basically wasn't true or something like that. He kind of made a comment, and like the word basically was doing a lot of work in that comment. I shouldn't be saying it because I don't have it exactly in front of me, but he's barely talked about it at all. Anna talked about it more than Cenk in the Nomiki Konst interview in July of 2020. So, okay, we're getting to the end here. So there's a bit of deception in Cenk's tweet here. He says that they decided to join IATSE today. Not true. The decision was made before. It wasn't done that day. That Cenk forced his workers to go through a second election after a harrowing 2-month union busting campaign, where they withheld raises and bonuses, where they fired people, where they challenged the composition of the bargaining unit, captive audience meetings, captive audience emails, union busting emails, you know, pressure, you know, who knows what kind of conversations happened internally in terms of pressure. So they didn't decide today. They decided months prior to that. And then he says, we voluntarily recognize the union. You didn't. You involuntarily were forced to recognize the union. You had to recognize it out of against your will. This is a lie. This is bullshit. Maybe this is not a precise lie, but this is bullshit. And I'm also including it because the TYT Union themselves made clear. Cenk's tweet was at 7 p.m., 6:59 p.m., and then an hour later at 8:09 p.m., TYT Union put out, we voted again I highlighted the again with yellow. And then they used the phrase officially recognized, which is accurate. Young Turks did recognize it after that, but it was not voluntary recognition. I think this speaks to a pattern of Cenk wanting to control the narrative here, which is also partially why I'm doing this whole project, is because I don't like the fact that his voice is the one that has told this story so far. By far, he's got the biggest reach with Anna's imprimatur. That just means like agreeing and then signal boosting it. And so I'm using my agency, as I did to wake up the union drive because I wanted health insurance and paid days off. And I also using my agency to tell this story. It's a fascinating story. It's a weird story. And I believe that there's an injustice here that can be corrected by the truth. And that's what this whole thing is. And man, it's probably I'm probably gonna end up homeless. I hate the money side of all of it. It's just so fucking humiliating to have to be like, and I need money. But like, Jesus, patreon.com/winners and losers and everybody. And there's other ways to donate if you look in the description, my link tree. Yeah, I just get depressed thinking about money. Okay. All right. So we're jumping around a slight bit here. So we go back to 2020. This is the Big 10 tweet screed that TYT put out. And they finish with this phrase here, a ploy to intimidate us. They say 10 out of 10 here. If IATSE doesn't agree, it's obvious they never had the support of our employees, and this was all a ploy to intimidate us and the people who work at TYT. We emailed IATSE because we needed help curbing our boss Cenk Uygur's behavior. They were kind and receptive and patient. And we asked them for help because we wanted to unionize so that, for me, in my case, and I know that my friends were motivated, they wanted me to have health insurance. They felt like it was unfair that I was classified so as to receive zero benefits. Thousands of dollars. The 20 days off alone is $3,460. I have a detail here about the bonus. If I got a whole year's bonus, I would have gotten an extra $2,400 or so, like thousands of dollars here. So, then there's articles that kind of get into it. I just wanted to make sure that people saw that there's these Dave Jamieson in Huffington Post wrote about it. Also, he spoke to staffers who said their first organizing discussions date back more than 2 years. That's the 2018 time period. Kim Kelly, who interviewed me for this by email, wrote about Uygur accused IATSE of trying to sabotage his congressional run, and then kind of goes on a little bit more. And she says, when he called the timing of the unionization announcement into question on Twitter, intimating a conspiracy against him because IATSE had previously endorsed his opponent, organizers offered a quick rejoinder. Thompson, she writes, this is just the bottom here, recalls conversations about IATSE drive beginning 3 or 4 months before Uygur announced his candidacy. I actually kind of wish I could amend that to be about like 5 months. It actually was a little bit sooner than 3 or 4. Alex Thompson's political piece is very good. He also refers to it as a political conspiracy, writing allegations of a political conspiracy to sink Uygur's recent congressional campaign, and at least 2 1,500-word plus screeds that Uygur emailed to staff arguing against employees forming a union, which were obtained by Politico. One NLRB complaint over the termination of a pro-union employee is still pending. There are 2 of those NLRB complaints. Let's just fast forward to one of them, which is not in this article. What the fuck did I not? It's in this one. That's right. What the fuck? All right, right there. This is in the credits and sources post for the first 46 minutes. God. I had a better shot of this that's up closer that we could have looked at. I'll put it on screen if I edit this in post. But this is for violating Section 7 of the NLRA, National Labor Relations Act. So, like, just to refer to what we got jumped around a little bit. where this is the little snippet from the Politico piece by Alex Thompson. The NLRB complaint over the termination of union employee is still pending. So they had to rescind like dictates that were impeding workers' rights to organize. And that notice hung on the wall for 60 days. Nobody at TYT reported on it at all. They didn't deem that newsworthy enough that their boss, the progressive Cenk Uygur, had gotten caught by the government violating labor laws. And that wasn't a news story. So, talking to Alex Thompson directly, although he doesn't quote him directly for this one, but I know he's quoted in this article a bunch. So Uygur also suggested that the union drive was part of an effort to undermine his recent campaign for Congress in California's 25th district, in which the union had endorsed one of his Democratic opponents. Uygur finished 4th in the top 2 primary on March 3rd. Uygur cited that dynamic as one of the irregularities, quote unquote, when asked why he did not support card check. So he chalked it up to an irregularity. Is this word irregularity is almost like the closest we get to Cenk acknowledging that something untoward happened regarding his union busting. It's written about in these articles. There's all kinds of other information about it. Even Cenk's own words, by the way, and this is relevant to the union busting stuff that we're going to get into in a little bit. The collar thing, because that's going to be its own sort of story. Cenk's emails to unionizing workers. So remember, the purpose of this article is to establish the proof of the narrative that they're telling. I'm proving my own narrative by proving the claims I'm making about my employment conditions. That's what the rest of the article is about. But the first part of the article is about TYT's. So then we get to my version. We'll get into that another day. How about? Because there's just so much. I have all this information from Gusto Records. TYT's part-time threshold is 30 hours. I was working. I'm just going to show you this one real quick. I was working 8-hour days here while called part-time. This is what I'm saying. You don't respect somebody. You don't do this to someone you respect. If you want to think of a boss and like what would be something a disrespectful boss would do, well, you'd say, I could come up with lots of stuff, but well, I don't know, maybe like calling someone part-time so that they don't get any benefits and then they work full-time hours. You don't do it to someone you respect. That's who Cenk Uygur is. That's who this guy is. Okay. He didn't give a shit if I had health care. It's crazy. So these emails, and this is a little interpretive here, obviously, as far as I'm kind of like what I'm choosing to highlight and stuff. So I write that a little bit here that this is subjective, but we don't have the full emails. Unfortunately, I wish we did. This is just the stuff that Alex Thompson has on his Twitter. And so you see the yellow highlights here. I'm going to read them down here at the bottom. I blocked them out. So Cenk, as I wrote, the version Cenk seems to believe makes no room for the agency of the workers as contrasted to my version of why we unionized. That is, his assertion is that we were manipulated by dishonest outside actors and were not acting of our own interests nor the interests of the company, but were duped by a third-party entity with bad or at least hidden intentions. Block 1, Cenk wrote, before IATSE came in. This is what I highlighted in yellow. I write, in fact, as shown in the articles, HuffPo, Politico, workers invited IATSE's help, which is a necessary step in any new union joining a larger umbrella org. Little bit nitpicky, but he says IATSE came in. No, that gives them the agency, right? No, workers invited IATSE to come in. We needed help dealing with our boss's horrible employment practices. He writes, that some folks got you to believe that being adversarial with management is the right thing to do. Nobody got us to believe anything besides our boss's public advocacy for unionizing. Play.
We've got to have collective bargaining so you all have power.
The working class should have power. Are we allowed to stand up for working class people? The answer is yes. Yes, you are.
You don't have collective bargaining, and you want to go into your boss and say, all right, I'd like a pay raise. You're going to have absolutely no ability to do that. The only way that...
I had to go ask my boss, and now, to be fair, I asked it through the HR person, but that's asking your boss, if I could get health insurance. I wasn't even going for a pay raise. I wanted to go to a doctor. I wanted paid days off. I wanted benefits. This is less than even just a fucking pay raise.
any boss would take you seriously is whether you could bring everybody in together.
They say they support organizing.
We need to have stronger unions in this country. We need to restore power back to the average citizens in this country.
We need unionized work, right? We need labor protections.
Yep.
We had those protections. They've been rolled back throughout the decades because of the aggressiveness of the anti-labor movement.
The wealth gap is
Brett
so
Ehrlich.
big. The thing that had the most hope to close it was unions.
Workers at TYT have organized for a voice on the job. So there's a bunch of Cenk being hypocritical and TYT people talking and stuff. Yeah, this tweet though here, right here, wild bear eating man on the loose. Justin J. Joseph's one. Thank you, sir. Amazing how crushing it must have been for the crew that films these allegedly progressives talking about unions and worker rights day after day, only to then have them reject their own employees' union. Yeah, well said, man. And think about my case working there for no benefits. Who I came from the TYT audience originally. I was a paying member, like starting in 2008 or 9 or something. It goes way back. I had this like deep history of the company, and so yeah, it's like it was pretty crushing. And like I knew it wasn't a high respect environment. I'd already seen the sausage get made there, but the classification stuff was just like crossing a fucking line. That's kind of what this whole thing is like, I'm just built differently, you know? The guy crossed the line the moment he did that. And that set in motion a day where this shit would come out. Whether it would be, and I got to say the story was, yeah, they had me classified, and then I brought it to their attention, and they fixed it. That would have been rad. I would have been like, you know what? No problem. Down for it. They gave me a big check for all the holidays and the healthcare. They made right. Could have done that. There's a storyline. There's a timeline where that could have been the story. But yeah, not only were these workers, people there tend to, not that everybody there is like a true believer of Cenk's whole project and mission, you know, such and such, but you care about the politics. You care about making hopefully a better world one where progressive values rise to the forefront and all the craziness that's in the politics. And that, just like this guy says here, it must have been crushing that films these alleged progressives talking about unions and worker rights day after day. God, yeah, that really captures it. So he writes, well, just to get back to this, so Cenk should explain who the some folks are when he is asked about this. So who's he referring to? Who are the some folks? He seems to know what happened. Let's get the guy's proof. Let's get some evidence, Cenk. Come on, Columbia Law School lawyer. Here's Cenk's words again. This is why they don't want me talking to you, because I'm going to tell you things that are true. That is super important for you to know. Again, please ask around and verify for yourself. Don't just trust me or some union rep you've probably met twice in your life. So he's indicating here, I write, Cenk indicates that the union reps were met. The union reps we met were withholding information and insists what he is saying is true. I only experienced honesty, patience, and kindness from the union reps. I never got a whiff that they were pulling a fast one on anybody. And also as if like, this is why they don't want me talking to you. Like as if Cenk is the arbiter of honest information in this whole thing. He's already put out a lie. These emails went out, I don't know the date, but this was like before the April 9th election. So this was probably the first week of April, as I'm guessing, when these emails went out. So he's already put out a lie about their integrity, that they were manipulated into this ploy, right? That the whole thing was a ploy. Other motives at play. Anna called it bad faith, suspicious. They're getting shit from audience members. They know that people are buying the company line. You know how fucking brutal that felt? Just kind of like what that tweet said, for these workers to be on the inside of this. And I'm not just making this up, because like, who do you think I get some of my information from? You know what I'm saying? I have good sources on this. They felt incredibly insulted. I'm not speaking for every single person. I can't do that. I felt insulted because I was even though I wasn't there for the union busting, I got laid off, but I was there for the origination. That's why this whole project is about that. So Cenk's already put out the lie here. And Anna's already helped spread it. this conspiracy bullshit. He's had captive audience meetings, which are now illegal in California. It's a $500 fine, which is bullshit. But you can get busted for those now. Other states have them illegal too. He threatened someone at the meeting. He threw papers. That's written in Huffington Post. He fired that person the morning after his election loss, which is dubious ethically for campaign finance reasons. Business decisions. Felt like a Bobcat Goldthwait off. But sorry. Okay. Now my brain's just going off on a wacky tangent inside. Business decisions and political decisions, they made a big stink of this. Is in the film. They make it a big stink about how they had to separate those. The editorial control of the company went to Anna and Judith, their director of programming or something like that. And so Cenk allegedly had separated any editorial influence over his company because he became a politician. Yet, even when he told Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper that even Matt Taibbi phrased it as getting kicked in the balls, that TYT's aggressive investigative reporters are unlike other, like Michael Bloomberg is kind of who they're contrasting to, because there aren't that many examples, contemporary at least, of like media company owners also being politicians. I'm sure there's probably more than we realize. They're all podcasters now, fucking Ted Cruz and shit. But as Cenk told Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi that he said no holds barred. He made it seem like his company, and he's like, oh, I'm not sure I want them looking into it, to suggest that if there's something untoward that could be reported by someone in the Young Turks company, they would come out with it. And then he does union busting that includes no fact checking and lying about the workers' integrity, and not a fucking peep from anybody there. Nobody brought it up. Nobody reached out to me. Nothing. So I think there's dubious ethical boundaries being crossed there. You know, Anna Kasparian bringing Cenk on, calling him Uygur. Our guest today is Cenk Uygur, who is running for. It's like, but okay, they had to do that shit. Fine. He's still able to book himself on the damage report. But then firing somebody the morning after the election loss tells me that business decisions, because that would have looked bad before the campaign. This guy's up here busting unions and chopping heads off of unionizing workers, and that's right. You don't do that before the campaign, before the election. You wait till the morning after the loss, after you only get 6.6% of the vote. So anyway, that went off a bit of a tangent around that one. But like Cenk is pretending to hold on to the truth here. Don't just trust me, ask around, he says. The last people in the fucking world that would trust what this guy is saying are the people that he had just lied about publicly. I tried to turn my head, but my stupid iPhone, my stupid earbud cord pulled on me. Okay, I keep going. God, this is... I might have to skip the Trump stuff. Fucking hell. It's true, I write. We had all met Cenk. Oh, yeah, so this is in response to, don't just trust me or some union rep you've probably met twice in your life. So here's a little sass from me. It's true we had all met Cenk many more times than the union reps. This is why we feared retaliation from him and secretly organized to avoid being punished. Yeah, we knew Cenk better than the union reps, that's for sure. Why do you think we knew we shouldn't say anything about it until we came forward? We didn't think he would bust the union. That just seemed like ridiculously out of, like, stupid, like completely the dumbest thing he could have done. No, like you would never predict that he would be no. We predicted he would hate it, but to do the like aggressive union busting while running for Congress, it's just so nuts, man. Okay, block 3. He writes, already this particular union has misled you several times about what they, quote, got out of us. Here, Cenk is insisting the union was being dishonest with the workers. He writes again, or writes another thing. When your so-called representatives taunt us publicly with things that aren't even true. I write, the phrase so-called indicates Cenk believes the IATSE reps were not representing worker interests. Block 4. I'll just show it to you. That's this one here. He writes, but I'm sure someone at IATSE told you we're big bad management who is lying about everything and that the best thing to do is apply pressure by doing maximum damage. And I write, assumptions about IATSE's intention and honesty support Cenk's narrative that there was an intention to do maximum damage. So I think I could have probably done a little bit more interpretive language here regarding this, but someone at IATSE told you indicates that we're just being fed misinformation from IATSE, that big bad management is lying. Well, we all lived a lie. We literally sat there and watched him lie on Twitter via those statements, the ploy to intimidate, Anna signal boosted it, other motives at play. Articles wrote about it as a conspiracy. Do you think the Young Turks workers didn't understand whether we were manipulated or not? So yeah, nobody, not that anybody IATSE told us they were lying. We experienced the fucking lying. And that the best thing to do is to apply pressure by doing maximum damage. So the way you do damage, in this case, is if he busts the union. Him saying yes to the union wouldn't cause any damage. It would have been a positive. I have a little bit about that here. But as if there was anybody wanted to damage his union. Like that was the point. Like the whole reason why we did any of this was so that we knew he would suddenly decide to become a politician because he heard about George Papadopoulos running for Congress. And then our intention was to hurt that. What? By betting that he would bust the union, which nobody would bet that. We would know. Don't do it, Cenk. I don't have another documentary in me, okay, man? Not about your bullshit. God damn it. I'm fucking irritated that I had to deal with that shit at all. I'm so pissed. That's a part of it. I tried to make woodworking videos after Young Turks. I should be on YouTube being a funny woodworker. For fuck's sake. Cenk probably wishes that's what happened instead of this. He writes, speaking of strategy, some have suggested that the timing of the IATSE action was not because they were opposed to my campaign, but because it was a good moment of leverage against me. So he's kind of saying that some are suggesting that it's not because they're opposed to his campaign, but because it's leverage. Well, both of those could be true. That doesn't flow really well. But anyway, here's what I wrote back, or wrote to that. I wrote, Cenk isn't wrong that him running for Congress altered how leverage could be generated. A boss running for Congress while union busting is indeed a unique circumstance. I mean, just like we were full steam ahead with the union, and then he becomes a politician, and we're like, well, yeah, that changes the way we do leverage. No fucking shit, man. Of course. The hell kind of people you think we are? And I wasn't there for any discussions about when to come out at all. I would have been, I'm not going to shock anybody here, but I would have been for turning those screws as hard as fucking possible because I don't fuck around. I'm starting to swear too much. I don't do proportional pushback. Not my thing. I would have been for absolutely going full steam on the leverage as hard as possible. That's what I would have advised. But I was not involved with that because like that, those sort of discussions happened after I was fired as it got closer to coming forward. So I keep going here. I wrote, but this sentence presumes there is validity to the notion IATSE was motivated to unionize the Young Turks as a political act. If that's the case, why was IATSE on board in 2 separate instances before Cenk became a politician? I already said that. IATSE wasn't out to harm Cenk's campaign. It answered a call from workers who wanted to address workplace grievances. That's what unions do. No person familiar with Cenk's politics, e.g. his longtime employees, who probably understand the guy's politics better than anybody, would predict he would reject a union. We predicted he would be unhappy, but not that he would reject it and do union busting. In TYT's version, a trap is set that requires he refuse to recognize. The caper only works if Cenk busts the union. Had Cenk voluntarily recognized the union, the ploy backfires. it becomes a big payoff. He would have been able to campaign on that as evidence of lived principles, and it would be a bright spot in future political campaigns, such as his run for president in 2024 and his upcoming run for governor in 2042. That's just kind of a joke. I do actually think he should run for governor. They'll let an immigrant be governor. Go for it, man. Do it. Let's see that political savvy. Prove who you really are. Run for governor or run for Congress. Do it correctly. I think Cenk in Congress would be really fucking interesting. I really do. It helped my movie a lot, probably. So I'm for it for that reason. But come on. Mr. Hot Shot, do it. Don't just foist it off on Michael Schur because he wanted to go talk to rich people in their houses with all their fancy deep shelves. Rich people always have deep shelves. Everyone knows that? All right. Another point for me. Rejecting the union is what harmed Cenk's campaign. The person who made that decision was Cenk. That's the whole thing here. It's like his whole posture is that my cat's making noise. Anybody want a cat? Anybody, please, for the love of Christ. I can't handle having a cat. And she deserves better than my stupid ass. It's partially what stresses me out. See, now my brain's fucked. Partially what he's kind of going at on this is that there was this intention to hurt him. It's all about this kind of narcissistic interpretation, this like the narcissism colored lenses that he sees the world through. It seems to me that as if him busting the union had to be a thing. And I think okay, let me finish this here. It is also objectively true that Cenk's campaign would have been harmed if he were forced to tell his audience the reasons, as detailed below, his workers organized a union. There was an incentive to offer his audience an alternative narrative. So that's a bit of an opinion, I guess, but I did use the word objectively. But I think everybody would agree that a guy running for Congress on a platform of progressive policies, who's made his entire brand and career off of calling out other companies for corporate malfeasance and saying workers need to stand up for each other. You saw the video we played earlier. And that if he had to tell his audience and the political press that, oh yeah, my workers are unionized. Well, why do they unionize? Well, there's one guy wasn't getting health insurance. What? Why didn't he was he working full time? Yeah, he was working full time. Why didn't he get health insurance? Well, because he was an independent contractor. Well, why was that? What? Because that's what we required he signed before working there. Well, was he doing no, he was working on regular company business, on company time, on company property, under company supervision, under company management. And the person whose role he replaced was also a full-time employee. And the people he worked alongside was also a full-time employee. Well, what did you do when he complained? Well, we changed him to part-time. We made him an employee. Oh, good. You fixed it. Well, no, we didn't. We fixed something. We didn't fix. Did he get benefits when he was part-time? No, part-time workers don't get benefits. Well, how many hours was he working? Well, he was 40, easily over 40 hours a week. And yet you called him part-time? Yes. And this is the reason your workers unionized? Of course. I mean, he didn't want to have to tell his audience why workers unionized. And he even writes about that. I have just a couple more clarity here about Anna tweeting out that she's not management. It's important for people to understand that. She definitely doesn't have any positive feelings about this story here, as this tweet shows. She writes, this is just retweeting TYT's 10 tweet IATSE thing. Screed. This is a detailed thread on the TYT union situation. I really have nothing to add to this since I'm not in the executive team, management, or the board. I'd appreciate if everyone stopped demanding statements from me. And then because I was a former worker, I included myself in this part because I made it clear that I was available to talk. And if they wanted to check the facts, they could have. Nobody there contacted me about fact checking. My 3 tweets, I wrote, I'm a former employee of TYT who was part of the organizing effort, got laid off in early January. Speaking only to the suggestion that, quote, other motives are at play, I can confirm that is total bullshit. We began the effort long before Cenk's campaign, in secret, of course. This is about living our principles and standing together to improve material conditions in the workplace. It's about worker rights, which Cenk is a big proponent of. The suggestion that TYT's employees are being manipulated by IATSE, that's a typo, by IATSE or by Cenk's opponent is frankly insulting. TYT is staffed by brilliant, hardworking, kind, and decent progressives, liberals, and lefties. It was a joy and a privilege to work with so many talented people. They deserve to have their right to organize recognized, not answered with insults and lawyers speak. Hashtag solidarity. Solidarity. So that's what I said. And that's kind of the end of this whole version bit here of TYT's version. The above captures the Young Turks version of why and when a union formed at their company. If an article is ever written, I'm hopeful they are given an opportunity to verify their claims and show supporting evidence for why their version is the correct version. This would include their proof that the claims I'm making are untrue. If TYT's version is correct, they should be able to prove it. Yeah. And also prove why, if their version's correct, everything that their workers told those reporters were lies and that their workers fabricated emails to show the reporters. They have to prove that. So, really quickly here, though, we'll get back to this. Cenk calls himself, he writes, I don't know where I go to get my reputation back. This is in his emails to the workers. Some portion of people will now forever know me as a union buster, and much worse, as a boss who treats his employees poorly. So, if you wanted to do that damage, you already have. So what else is there left to do but vote? So he knows he's being labeled as a union buster. He doesn't exactly admit he is one. He says he will be known as that, not arguing that any of this wasn't union busting. And it's even worse for him. So this is the decision he made. Either I tell my audience, either I become a union buster or my audience finds out I'm a boss who treats his employees poorly. And I'm sure you noticed what I named the title of the first article, or at least the graphic of it, a boss who treats his employees poorly. Yeah. So when I talked about the umbrage, sorry, I'm not going to find the spot here, but I opened the link. Oh yeah, the unfair treatment that Team Cenk had been receiving. I opened up this link here. It's our good old man, Kyle Kulinski, tweeting about the New York Times deceiving and writing very, very, very smearful kind of piece about Cenk's interpretation of how Cenk responded to a David Duke interview. Cenk was being very clearly, aggressively anti-David Duke, anti-KKK, very, very clearly. As you watch this, you cannot, there's only one conclusion you can come to. And he sarcastically says, no, of course not, to David Duke, which New York Times reported as if when David Duke said, I am not what you call a racist. And Cenk said sarcastically, no, of course not. New York Times reported that as if he was like agreeing with David Duke, which is just ridiculous. And so this became a big deal. This is the whole core of the ethical dark web. And God damn it, Kyle Kulinski, you need to talk to me. You need to do a bit on this story. If you cared about this at the time, you should care about the Young Turks workers' story being told correctly, because the cavalry showed up for Cenk when the mainstream media smeared him, and the only person that showed up for the Young Turks workers when Cenk smeared his own workers was me. We could use your help, Kyle. Come on, Kyle. We'll go golfing. I used to caddy. So this is, why is it? Get rid of that. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I've gotten to know a little bit the TYT mods. They had a rebellion in chat in relation to the transphobic commentary that was emerging from the Young Turks. This is a lot of the firestorm that brewed up around Anna, the firing of Benny from, I think Benny left voluntarily. I don't mean to be saying, but like a non-binary contributor, Sandy Lovis, who does a great YouTube channel called Left of the Box, also made a stand and withdrew participation. These sorts of principles that the mods were expected to enforce were suddenly being violated by the people on the show. So I'm not going to read the entire article. I will get back to this. They resigned. It took a lot of courage. I know it's a group. There's a great episode of The Letter Hack called When Mods Resign on YouTube. Look for that. It's a long discussion. They talk about this a lot. They go into a lot of detail. Really appreciate that Matt Strackbind on The Letter Hack provides that space for them to talk. And these were all unpaid. And this is not just like modding a forum an hour or two a week. This is not just like hanging out in a chat with your buddies and you're a mod for some streamer channel. This is like a huge, well-known media company with millions of dollars in operating budget, I assume. I mean, they got $20 million from Katzenberg and all that stuff. And at high levels of this, of high engagement, you attract all kinds of, spiders. I'm thinking of a haunted forest. Like the bugs come out, the ghouls show up, they turn up in your chat and they have to be policed out. They have to be moderated out. And so these mods had to be exposed to the entire brunt of all of that while keeping up with the chat, while keeping up with the activity going on in there, kicking people out, dealing with complaint. I mean, it's a very engaged thing. And a lot of these mods are autistic and have other disabilities. And we're hoping to someday gain some kind of employment from this work that they did. And they had to follow TYT's schedule. They were working like 8-hour days, basically. Morning times, restream times, where it streams on other platforms. Like, they had a schedule that they were expected to follow. It was a job. And they weren't getting paid. So I just wanted to kind of highlight the top of this letter here. You can get to this. It's linked through this piece about TYT that we've been reading. They write, letter to TYT owners, staff, and volunteers. We are sorry to say that we're resigning from providing TYT with our unpaid labor. We had agreed to moderate for a strong progressive channel who had strong core values. Over the past year, hosts, mostly on the main show, have allowed their own core values to slip, making us question whether they even have those as values. Some specific ones include, every action we take is to support our mission. We participate with a positive and productive attitude. We are inclusive. We lead by example. We participate in constructive communication. We check our ego at the door, and we act with dignity. Every action we take is to support our mission. The mission is to boldly pursue the truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. End quote. We fail to see how bad-mouthing, insulting, and belittling the unhoused helps to drive any form of positive change, or how it challenges the establishment. Corporate media and the wealthy look down on the unhoused, and Anna's anti-homeless rant is in direct support to that mission. Failure to provide any ideas on how to help that don't include barbaric measures, only dogpiling. I'm going to read that again. Failure to provide any ideas on how to help that don't include barbaric measures, only dogpiling onto the problems that the unhoused have across the nation by furthering negative stereotypes is the opposite of positive change for that community. And they go on in a couple other ways too. So good for them. This is an important part. I'm not sure if this will be in the final version of the film. I hope to. I'm not going to go deep on it. It'll be more of like a montage, I think. But again, I don't know. Maybe as I get the timeline edited, that's usually when things kind of start to, changes can come about. So, the rest of this article is me showing all my information just to back up the claims that I was an independent contractor. I just want to give a quick scroll. All these hours are from Gusto and invoices, the 3 different classifications. These are examples of the invoices I would send in and that I would get paid. This is like right here an example of if I were paid, there would be entries in these little red arrow bits. And just like there is here, when I finally did get paid after 12 months of full-time video editing, I finally did get a first paid days off. Here's the independent contractor agreement. Very much lays out no benefits. Like, you go to work for Cenk Uygur, and you have to sign a contract saying you're not going to get health insurance. That's just fucking wild, man. I've said it too. Like, if it was a month or two, that would have been really annoying, but I would have dealt with that. I don't think I would have made a documentary. I get into some of the stuff about the differences as far as how the state of California addresses independent contractor versus employees and the definitions, and I relate it to the stuff I've done. I did a freelance job for the Young Turks. Here's the start where I emailed them. At first I had a meeting where I asked for help. This is not, I don't have proof of this, so I can't necessarily say it's there, but you know, why would I lie about this? So I had a meeting. This is what changed the first classification into the second classification. Then the third classification in October, I had some questions, which I did formalize in an email. And they wrote back, we will not backdate pay or benefits. They kept the money I had earned. I felt like they were stealing from me the whole time. That's what it felt like. Thousands of fucking dollars, man. Just a lot of money. And there's a bunch of little bits here. And then email proof. This is the part of the emails that were sent to the reporting where they write about the emails that were sent to Alex Thompson for the Politico piece. Now, I don't have those emails, but where I'm accepting them on faith that they exist because they were shown to a third-party reporter. And if you're to accept TYT's version, then you have to believe that these emails were fabricated and made up. And that would be a very slanderous thing to say about your own workers, wouldn't it? We end up at the conclusion. I did put a little picture of my bald eagle there. It's my head. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful skull. It's just white feathers, by the way. They're not really bald. I write, I maintain that at no point was I an independent contractor, nor a part-time worker. I was every bit a part of the team as other editors. There were many other reasons for the organizing, but a core driver of it was so that I would receive the same benefits as others doing the same work. My coworkers were bothered that one of their own was under such stress, and as a group, we were motivated to do something about it. This is what they call solidarity. I'll summarize my claim here, and I'm inviting you to assess my honesty on the matter of why a union formed at TYT. In bold, italicized, so you know this is some serious words. In exchange for full-time video editing at the video production company for which I worked, I believed I deserved health care, paid time off, and other benefits on par with those who did the same job. I also believed I did not deserve to feel such stress and disrespect, wanting only to do a good job at my profession. Asking my boss to correct the situation was fruitless. Collective bargaining was the only tool available to correct what felt like a deeply unethical, ongoing injustice. We now have two versions of the story to reconcile, I write. In a header font size 4, I don't know what one of these is not true. We have two versions here. My version. Workers unionized because of unsatisfactory and exploitative working conditions. Versus TYT's version. So does scrolling get rid of the share quote thing? TYT's version. Workers were manipulated into unionizing by Cenk Uygur's political opponents as a ploy to harm his 2019 to 2020 congressional campaign for CA25 special election to replace Katie Hill against establishment favorite Christy Smith. Who's telling the truth? Who's telling the truth? You like my awkward hand gesture here? Who's telling the truth? Huh? So go to baldontheinside.substack.com. Read all this. Look at all of it. It's a lot of details. I'd love to get in touch with a reporter or a journalist. Someone wants to like do something about this story, maybe about my project, maybe about the labor movement in general. I mean, this story really captures a lot of different factors within the labor movement. The fight for workplace dignity. It has this extra dimension of Cenk running for Congress, which completely like sends it off into crazy land as far as like the stakes that were at play and the kind of attention that was brought to it. That's kind of why the movie becomes about that in a way. It's sort of like the unofficial documentary about that situation. But I'd love a journalist to get in touch with me, or some bigger channel that really wants to dive in on this. I'd love it if I get like some legal assistance, like Legal Eagle or some one of those like law firm sites or, you know, content creators that would like to dive in on this stuff. They probably think I'm a terrible, like, oh, this guy's a loose cannon. He's crazy. Look, he's doing all this shit. I can't afford a fucking lawyer. As I told the Vanguard, my the only lawyer I can afford is Barbara Streisand. That's the dang truth. All right. So next story, though, we have. All right. Okay. So this will be another clip. Check. This happened.
By the way, you're so pro your worker, right? Then why is your ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster then?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll answer all these. Even though, like, so this is just random.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So.
Well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother. You've had a nice run. Bye-bye.
Panic hangs up on the guy. Doesn't want to talk about the union busting. Hi, everybody. I'm Hank. My name's Hank. I helped start the union at the Young Turks. I'm making a documentary about the union situation at the Young Turks called Tell the Truth, Cenk. I was very closely involved with the origination of the union. And I have a quite a different perspective on this whole story than you might be expecting from some schmuck on YouTube offering up his opinion about this stuff. Check out my channel. There's previews of the documentary. There's 2 large chunks up currently. 80 minutes of amazing editing. You'll be blown away. Plus a whole bunch of other TYT related videos. Look in the playlist section. But this happened. This happened last week. I was actually visiting family back home, and so I caught it all on my phone. Fascinating moment. I think it was a Wednesday. Here it says October 10th, 2024, which was a Thursday. So Cenk decided to take calls. Like, I vaguely remember them taking calls in the very earliest days of TYT. My viewership goes back to before Anna Kasparian joined the company, when Jill Pike was the main person on there. And I was a paying member for quite a while. I ended up working there in 2013. I have this long history with the company, and leading up to me making a documentary about how they deceived their audience about why the union started. So strange, long story going on here. But so they've never done, I mean, like, so it's been a long time since they've done this call thing. And Cenk did this sort of compulsively or impulsively. He wanted to go on and on about Trump, and he's, you know, on his war horse about that, which is fine. And this broadcast was going on for a while. I didn't see it happen live. I was visiting family and stuff. I do check in on the Young Turks live streams a fair amount. I'm looking for them talking either about my situation or other union stories, or, you know, comments about how honest and upstanding they are and all that, which they like. They love to tell their audience how honest they are. And so this person calls in, and actually this guy who called in is a dude named Hansi. He calls into the Matt Binder program. He's another guy on YouTube. Matt Binder also does stuff with Majority Report. Super nice dude. And so I recognized the guy's name when he tweeted it out. So Hansi, his name is Scott. I want to just switch. Oh yeah. Look, I can change the sizing here. That's better. We'll keep it on the bigger size. Okay, so there it is. So this is my summary of the call. We're gonna watch the entire call, so you know. And Hansi comes at him with a pretty aggressive attitude. It's kind of a prank format, but the union busting discussion was very on point as far as what Hansi said to him. Scott is his name. So he tweeted this, which is what I saw. So he has the first and is the second tweet. And so I couldn't help myself, and I spent a bunch of time compiling all this information. I've probably I know this story incredibly well. I'm making a documentary about it. I've written articles about it on my Substack, baldontheinside.substack.com. Go check them out. Lots of information, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, documents, emails, tons of crap that Cenk Uygur doesn't want anybody to see. If you're new to the story, go to my Substack and look for the latest article that says the proof. It's the 2 evidence, and then look for the links to the articles that were written by Huffington Post, Indies Times, New Republic, and for God's sakes, I can just show you here, right here. these articles that were written are a great starting point, and Politico. So go to Substack, find these, read up on it. That way you're not getting my take, because clearly I am close to this. I am biased, obviously. But yeah, we're going to look at the union busting phone call here and then watch some more bullshit that Cenk spewed about the union busting after that. And then we're going to come back to this tweet thread that I wrote, which includes all the evidence underneath this snorkel line here. I don't know why I decided to do the snorkels. That's like a deep dive thing. So we're going to deep dive. We're going to snorkel our way in. And much of this was probably going to end up, or at least this whole project here of the evidence that I posted. Remember, Cenk said there's no evidence, and I just posted all this stuff. Richard Trumka said it's union busting. Come on, man. Come on. The Young Turks, I mean, it's just union busting through and through. But a lot of this also functions to serve as research work for the completion of the film, right? So there's a lot of motivations for me to want to do this stuff besides just wanting to correct the record. So enough yapping. Let's get back into Da Vinci. I also have the leftist mafia reacting to it. I don't know if what they said. I haven't watched that yet, so we'll see if they make anything about it. Yeah, this is just really interesting, though. Nobody's asked him about his union busting. Scott, our pal Scott Halal, Hansi83 on Twitter, has done what nobody in the progressive movement has done, which is confront a union buster on the left. Cenk claims to be on the left, and ask him about it. Put him on the spot publicly. He's been tweeted at about it. I've seen that a bunch. It's been written about a little bit. Those 4 articles are a good source. I'm making a huge stink about it. But yeah, so I have a ton of thoughts and a lot of interesting, well, I think they're interesting anyway. I'm a solo podcaster. Of course, I think I'm interesting. So let me turn off the browser. Okay. So now I have everything loaded up here in Da Vinci. This gives me an easier time flying around inside the call. We'll start at the beginning. I don't remember if I clipped this first part, so let's just give it a go. Let's enjoy this journey through this whole thing, and we're going to look at all the evidence as to why Cenk is indeed a union buster, and what does he think he's getting out of gaslighting his audience like this. And we'll let this whole I'll probably pause it a couple times here, but I do want to let it play through to the end of it as well.
.com/team. We love you for it, and we appreciate it. A couple more. No, let's do a call. Okay, I'm going to mix it up.
So here's
go back
Hansi.
and forth. Hello. Well, no. I feel bad for every person that doesn't get through. Hey there. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hello.
Hey, what's your name, brother?
Earl?
Yep. You're on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that you and Anna are inspiration. I've named my metal band after you guys, man. You guys rock.
Wow. Well, now we literally do, because you named a metal band after us.
Set up. Cenk bit completely on the hook to mix metaphors.
Yeah, it's called birthing people who are fascist pieces of shit. And I think you're a scumbag who's getting paid by the Russians, and you pal around with RFK Jr., who's on Epstein's Island. You scumbag.
Okay, so Hansi hit him with a little setup and then came hitting hard with that. So obviously Cenk knows that this is an aggressive call, unlike most of the nature of the calls that he's gotten before. I think he fashions himself a professional broadcaster. It's probably fair to describe him that way. And so he rolls with it. Cenk takes the punch and laughs about it. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Get all pissed off? That wouldn't do any good. It just gives the troll. That just feeds the troll, right? So here we go.
Okay, we got our first crank caller.
Crank.
Woo! We're on the board. I love it. Okay. So, but wait, I'm trying to understand. Are you a Democrat who thinks I'm pro-Trump?
No, I think you're just a piece of shit that is going on the fascist side, and you know where it's gonna go. You're an insider who pretends not to be an insider, but we all know you're an insider anyways, bro. You pretend to be anti-establishment, but your mainstream is just as mainstream media is. So you're full of shit, and so is Anna Kasparian. And enjoy your forward leaning to the right.
Okay, that's all, look, that's all wonderful, and you're a terrific angry caller, and I appreciate you. But I'm still trying to understand whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. I get that you think I'm a fascist and a piece of shit, right? Is he still on? Are you a Democrat or Republican?
I'm here. I'm here.
Are you a Democrat or Republican?
I'm neither.
Okay,
so the blue here, the blue marker at the bottom of the screen, that's where we get into the union busting stuff. I did just notice that someone wrote, "We got a Vanguard listener, LOL."
So it's just a random crank call. Okay, all right.
It's not a crank call. I think you're a douchebag.
It's not a crank call. I think you're a douchebag.
It is.
Someone wrote, whoever wrote that then gave Cenk $2 saying the same thing. We got a Vanguard listener.
I have no idea which direction you're coming from, so I don't know how to answer.
So why would you hang out with an Epstein Island enthusiast like RFK Jr.?
Okay, so now you're against RFK Jr. So for a second there, I thought you might be an independent, but you're definitely not an independent, a Democrat, or Republican. The one thing you know is I'm a douchebag, but that's where we got stuck. Okay, I don't know what you're for, brother.
How do you feel about? By the way, you're so pro worker, right? Then why is your ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster then?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll answer all these, even though so this is just
okay. Ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster. I'm not sure if Hansi is aware of my project. I'm not sure if other people that have accused Cenk of being a union buster. I am not here to say this to take issue with Hansi's call at all, but I'm not accusing Cenk of being a union buster. He's a union buster. He attempted union busting. To me, there's nothing alleged or accusatory about it. It's like a fact. Like, he hired anti-worker law firms. He had 2 NLRB cases. He conducted an aggressive union busting campaign. We're going to go through all the evidence, but we could chalk this up to opinion if we're going to be the most possible generosity we could muster up here in terms of what constitutes union busting. I guess in that sense, maybe there's room for someone to do aggressive union busting and then simply insist that that's not technically union busting, maybe, but Cenk is going to get into some of the logic of why he's not a union buster here, which is also, put on your waders. Okay. And for those of you that aren't cool, those are big rubber boots. Okay. Put them on, the ones that go up to your chest, because you're going to about to be wading through some big old piles of bullshit. But let's get going first. I didn't mean to interrupt for so long. Here we go.
Just random.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So.
There's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother, you've had a nice run. Bye-bye. Okay, so, but let me address that, because I know I'm gonna get crank calls when you do random callers, and I know that they're gonna try to bring up stuff. Wow, oh wow. So
so this has not, Cenk has not talked about the union busting. This is the most he has spoken about it since it happened. He had never spoke about it while it happened either. He referred to it in the video announcing ratification of the contract, which took 18 months, which itself is kind of a union busting tactic to try to like wear out your union as you negotiate. Plus, you're not required to fulfill any obligations to them. You don't have to pay those union rates until the contract's ratified. That's a side point. He referred to it as a bumpy start and then says, but it had nothing to do with how we treated workers there or workers here or something like that. Not true. The union was specifically about how workers were being treated, and it was not a bumpy start. That was a misleading way to characterize his relationship with this union. I did also find him saying like a year ago, maybe something about like, when I was running for Congress, I got raked over the coals for stuff that was basically made up. Like, he basically was denying that anything bad had happened. Not that he was being confronted about it. He sort of volunteered that sentence. It was just like one of those few times where I was like, oh, I know he's like, that was. So this is the most he's spoken about it. And he's about to go into his reasoning for why he's not a union buster. Like I said, put on your bullshit goggles, because they're about to get covered, and activate the little wipers on your bullshit goggles too. You're gonna need those. You're gonna need those.
Guys, we busted the union so hard here that there's a union here. Edwin, are you in the union? Edwin's in the union. Look at that. Oh, that's so weird. John, you in the union?
Yes, I am.
Huh. They appear to be entirely unbusted.
Classy. Put a couple of guys in the union on the spot to force them into your little scheme. Real classy there, Cenk.
So, guys, this is a thing that happened 4 years ago. And they, oh my God, they're the union busters. We had Union came in, IATSE. We had negotiations. It was the most lovely, peaceful, amicable negotiations you've ever seen in your life. We have great health care here. We have
I just want to point this out. The comments, this is why I recorded it like this. Someone says, was that Hansi from Howard Stern? So yeah, I guess Hansi used to call into the Howard Stern show back in the day. I don't know the whole history of that, but it's funny that people are recognizing him from that. And then someone here says, I like Cenk, but he is a union buster. So even in the comments, people are pushing back.
Really good benefits.
Sorry, I'm just got to rewind a little bit. He says they have great health care and really good benefits. Well, as if you've been watching this podcast, but if you're just finding this clip, find the other clip from this podcast. I talk about that extensively, how I didn't have health insurance working for Cenk under 2 different classifications. I was a part-time worker. Sorry, I was an independent contractor while working full-time hours, full-time video editing, taking the same, working along people who were classified differently than I was, taking a role from someone, that's why the position was open, who was also classified as a full-time regular employee. So when I showed up, it was now an independent contractor job for 0 benefits. That's why we started the union, because Cenk uses classification to deny workers benefits like health insurance and paid days off. That's me. I decided to wake up the union drive, but during that time, I was complaining because I'm not a quiet person. You could probably guess, and I met with management, expressed my concerns, my grievances, hoped that they would fix it. Instead of fixing it, they changed my classification to part-time temporary employee. So I was no longer an independent contractor, didn't have to send invoices. Now I'm on payroll, but I still got 0 benefits. Nothing. No benefits at all. They kept my Labor Day money. They kept my 4th of July money. I took a holiday, took sick, I took 20, over that whole time period of 12 months, there were 20 days of unpaid wages that I would have been paid if I were classified properly from the beginning. And that's why we unionized, among other reasons. This, what I just told you, is the story he's afraid of his audience learning. He does not want his audience to tell you or to find out the actual reasons why his workers unionized. And it's a crazy story. Check out the film. It's in the description if you're brand new to this. Okay. Backing up a little bit. Great benefits and great health care. First of all, the benefits aren't that fucking great. The 401k contribution, the employer contribution, 0. Call that good? Get out of here, man.
Really good benefits. And then we had our union. So, and the thing is, everyone has different version of me in their mind, right? Based on whatever crazy crap that they saw online. So people who, I mean, that guy's totally out of control in 1,000 different ways, right? He just wanted to say every negative thing in the world. I still literally don't know which side he's on or what he's for, other than just being angry. And then I thought it was fairly amusing overall. But for people who actually think that we busted a union and there's no union here, yeah, I can see why they'd be angry, but it's not true. And so, I gave up caring about that stuff because there's literally millions of people who believe terrible things about me that aren't even anywhere near true. So what am I gonna do? Fucking internet, you know what I'm saying?
Fucking internet.
Okay. So all right, let's try another caller.
So he says this.
It's fairly amusing overall, but for people who actually think that we busted a union and there's no union here.
There it is. He's trying to set the terms of the logic loop that he wants his audience to get trapped in. This is gaslighting. For people that think we busted a union and there's no union, he's trying to say that union busting is defined as stopping a union. As if to say, like, well, how could I be a murderer? The guy I stabbed lived. That doesn't, you can't call me a murderer because the guy with all the knife wounds is alive. How could I be a fisherman? I'm not catching any fish. Do you still get to call yourself a fisherman if you don't catch fish like I am when I go fishing because I suck at it? I love doing it, but I suck at it. Yeah, you're still a fisherman. You're a union buster if you tried union busting. So he's very cleverly, and I think it's pretty transparent if you have any kind of suspicion or, any kind of notion of this at all, unless you're totally like have the wool pulled over your eyes, that this is just straight up gaslighting. I'm hesitant to say it's straight up lying, even though I absolutely could and would be totally fine to do that, I think. I'm calling him a liar over the reasons the union started. That's what Tell the Truth Cenk is all about. But in this case, you could, like I said earlier, being very, very generous, he could say it's his opinion or that he uses a different definition of union busting than other people. So we're going to see all the things that they did. Okay. I have all the evidence laid out, but I'm going to play this again.
For people who actually think that we busted a union and there's no union here.
So that's the bullshit. This is where you need to turn the wipers on your bullshit goggles right now. That busting a union there means no union. That's not what happened. That's not at all how anybody who has any notion of this stuff understands it and would describe it.
Yeah, I can see why they'd be angry, but it's not true.
And that part, this part here, yeah, I can see why they'd be angry. So he's accepting that a union buster should receive anger, right? He's accepting that that's a thing worthy of derision, of scorn. And I've been making the argument that, you know, we all love Sean Fain for his Donald Trump is a scab t-shirt that he pulled out at the DNC. We don't like scabs, right? Union lefties, labor friends, we all get that scabs are someone you should aim your ire at, right? I don't want anybody to get hurt, nothing like that, you know. But in the history of unionizing, the history of labor strikes, the history of this stuff, scabs are bad guys. I can make a case for the economic deprivations that drive workers to become to engage in sort of divisive things, because scabs are still struggling people. You know, I'm not going to turn off my compassion just because of that. But we hate scabs. Who's worse than scabs? Who's worse than a fucking scab? A union buster, by far. There's two classifications. There's like, this is like chess. There's the pawns. There's the rooks and the kings and the queens. And then like, so here we are. The king is the union buster and the union busting consultant is the queen. They do all the dirty work. And so Cenk is acknowledging.
Yeah, I can see why they'd be angry, but it's not true. And so, but I gave up caring about that.
Sorry, I want to get off this Da Vinci stuff here real quick. Try to move this quickly. Okay. As I have in my TYT related video section here, Cenk is acknowledging that you should be angry, or that people would rightfully have some questions if it turns out he's a union buster. Of course, he says he's not. And so I don't know why I decided to show you this, but does David Sirota know Cenk Uygur is a union buster? In this video, he sits. Oh fuck! God damn it! So shit. This is. That's just me. It's my stupid show. He sits down and talks with Cenk, and they talk about paid family leave and what the Democratic priority should be. Should it matter? Should David Sirota? And I'm not trying to call out David Sirota. I have a ton of respect for David Sirota. Hire me, David. I could be. I'm really good at video editing and podcast editing. Like I'll ever get hired by anybody. David Sirota, I believe, believes his principles. Should Cenk's peer group learn and care that he's a union buster? He's done a great job memory holing this whole thing. Sean Astin is another guy. That's Frodo's buddy, Samwise Gamgee. Becomes a big hunk by the end. He gains some confidence. He goes up to the lady, they talk, and then they have babies. Right? Lord of the Rings. We've all seen it. He's a good dude. Big union guy. Now, again, I'm not calling out Sean Astin, but he sat down with TYT. Should he know that Cenk is a union buster? John Fugelsang was at the TYT studio. Should it matter? Should people be informed? I mean, there's bigger like battles in the world going on. There's far worse things happening in the planet right now. But within this little sphere, David Sirota is a union guy. Sean Astin is in a union. John Fugelsang is in a union. I want to see some solidarity from people in unions calling out Cenk for being a union buster, as he agrees.
Yeah, I can see why they'd be angry, but it's not true.
But it's not true. So, okay.
By the way,
we'll play it back in Twitter. All right, we're going to go back over to Twitter. So it's not true, he says. All right. Which one is it? There it is. Okay. We'll do some of the evidence. Then we'll jump to the leftist mafia portion just to see what that says, just because I kind of want to break it up. And then we'll get back to the evidence. There's so much evidence. This is not a thing. All right. So here's Scott's call. We're going to click on this, click play, listen to Scott, everybody. Go, Hansi, go.
For a second there, I thought...
Skipping ahead.
How do you feel about, by the way, you're so pro worker, right? Then why is your ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster then?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll answer all these. Even though, like, so this is just random.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So...
well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother, you've had a nice...
What evidence? All right. So, as I wrote, I quoted, I kind of typed this up. I don't know if this was good tweeting. I'm objectively horrible at it. I decided that the snorkel thing would like sort of be the through line, which means in the movie, I'll probably animate some sort of underwater sequence for this. So I wrote, since I first I did this first tweet where I just like, quote tweeted, Scott said, we have a thread coming here. I write, since I am very close to this story, I'll refrain from saying Cenk is lying when he says he's not a union buster. Technically, that's his opinion. At best, it's extremely dishonest. Observe the evidence below and decide for yourself. A little background, then snorkel time. Quick sidebar. Skip to my posts before this article for links to from legit journalists written at the time, HuffPo, In These Times, The New Republic, Politico. I already showed you those. That's these right here. Okay, so definitely go look those up or go to baldontheinside.substack.com and you could find the links right there. Nope, that's not. It's a different thing. That's a different thing. Okay, different thing. And okay. All right, so I just want to give people that option because people are. I'm easy to dismiss. I'm a little bit awkward. People can be like, "Fuck this guy. What the hell does he know?" But it's all in those articles. Those articles are very good and they're very detailed. Cenk is interviewed in them. I'm interviewed in the New Republic article, and TYT has not refuted any of the claims in any of those articles, including the Politico article that has a link to his emails, which you can read, which are also available right here on my Substack. These are Cenk's emails where he sweats about being known as a union buster to the workers. He sent these emails. We don't have the full emails, but he sent these to unionizing workers. He wrote, I don't know where I go to get my reputation back. Some portion of people will now forever know me as a union buster, and much worse, as a boss who treats his employees poorly. I'm here to confirm that both of those statements are absolutely true. When you have someone working 40-hour weeks and you call them part-time so that you don't have to give them benefits, that is a profoundly disrespectful way to treat somebody. It is deeply unethical, and that's what they did in my case. And that's among the reasons why we unionized. And these emails are filled with union busting tactics, like you're going to hurt other workers. They're really interesting. They're really interesting to read. So, as I say here, did I read this? I'm sorry. I'm going to read it again if I didn't or did. I don't know. I'm getting overwhelmed. That said, God damn it. That said, I have no problem calling Cenk a liar about why and when the unionizing started. I played a central role in its second attempt. Organizing began in 2018, froze, woke up in 2019, and am an original source. I was there. Snorkel arrow. Cenk told his audience that the union was a political ploy by his establishment foes to harm his congressional campaign. In fact, it was disrespectful and exploitative working conditions. He lied to prevent his audience from learning the real reasons workers secretly unionized. Oops, forgot the snorkel arrow on that one snorkel arrow. I am documenting the story in my documentary, Tell the Truth, Cenk, pinned written pieces and talking about it on my podcast. That's happening right now. I would be grateful for your attention and support. It's been a lonely, scary, joyless slog, and I can't finish it without lots of help. Please, guys, if you tip your bartender $2 for opening a Miller Lite and you've watched the documentary, that took me like 3 years. What's up? 2.5-ish. And it's going to make me so unemployed. So like $2 for opening a Miller Lite, maybe $5 for a very highly entertaining film. That it's, please consider it. I hate begging for. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't. But my begging doesn't work anyway. So I don't even know why I try. I paid a fucking lawyer $250 for an hour to talk about this thing like 2 years ago because it was like I need some advice. So I'm in the hole on this whole thing by about $200. I've made about $50, I think, on a one new. Okay, it's fine. Support, share the word, spread the word, have me on your show. There's lots of other ways to do it, but we live in this disgusting money cult society. So if you can afford a little bit of help, then please do. And hopefully we make a lot more other great films. This is like, you know, ideally just the first of hopefully many on more pleasant topics. All right. So I give reasons here. I say, and actually this tweet thread is very long. This is the one I actually quote tweet Cenk here and talk about all the reasons why. You know, all right, let's just jump into it real quick. We're not going to go down. But he wrote, the powerful always feel entitled to lord over the powerless. And the thing they hate most of all is if you point out their power, because they want to keep up the mirage of how they are the good, moral people, and the powerless are the ones you have to be concerned about. I couldn't help myself. I haven't quote tweeted Cenk or retweeted him or tweeted him directly. I'm not tweeting at him like, hey, fucker, why are you not doing that? But I have been retweeting stuff where he's in there. So like this stuff must be, he follows me on Twitter. A bunch of TYT people do. Anyway, so I wrote here, this is precisely why I'm making Tell the Truth Cenk. 1, Cenk uses classification to deny a worker benefits. 2, workers secretly unionize to combat this, plus other reasons. 3, Cenk lies to his audience about why his workers unionized. 4, Cenk's mirage upheld. It's exactly what he's writing about in that thread. So now here's the evidence. Hopefully you brought your nose clips. It's snorkel time. As a reminder.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So.
Well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother. You've had a nice run.
What evidence? Okay, buddy. All right. Like the hubris on this fucking guy to think that he can just make those statements and that nobody would point it out. And he knows I'm irrelevant. I mean, it must be nice to know just like how little effect this is going to have, which is, I think, his only reasonable strategy, other than just maybe actually being honest about it. That could also probably be a advisable thing to do, but he's so far down that road he can't be honest about it. Yeah, so it's all going to get kind of relegated to randos and cranks and just online wackos doing what they're doing. I'm sure that's the category that I kind of put myself into because I'm a bit of a nut. But I have the kind of honesty that causes problems in my life. Like that's been a thing my entire life. So like take that for what it, I'll talk about autism on plenty of other times. But anyway, there's nuances to that whole thing. So here's the evidence. First, I wanted the workers to have their voice heard. TYT unions started a signature drive detailing their boss's union busting. Read their words. And just to be clear, I want people to know I was laid off 5 weeks before the union came forward, so I'm not representing the union. And these are the images. Let's see how these look. It just opened up the multiple. Okay. So the Young Turks created this. Is it getting smaller? No. The Young Turks Union produced here. Why don't we just click on the? Oh, Jesus! I've made it so bad. This is not smooth. So they did an actionnetwork.org petition. Tell the Young Turks to recognize their crew's union. Target Cenk Uygur, founder of the Young Turks. These are the words from the union, from TYT Union. A majority of us on the Young Turks production and post-production employees have voted to form a union by signing union authorization cards. On February 12th, we officially requested that the company recognize our decision to go union. Rather than living up to the network's progressive values and honoring our choice, Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks, Inc. are fighting against us with age-old union-busting tactics. There's the word, union busting. Including attempting to force a do-over election on the company's terms. Instead of card check, they wanted to have a expedited arbitrator-supervised election in the little conference room outside Cenk's office at a date later to be determined so that they could buy themselves time in order to conduct a union-busting campaign. 2, holding a tense captive audience meeting and pressuring us to not support a union. They're hyperlinked to the Huffington Post article here by Dave Jameson. Very well-written piece. This will give you a lot of information. February 24th. This is the first of the 4 articles. 3, firing a union supporter for creating a hostile work environment. The hyperlink goes to In These Times by Hamilton Nolan, who was just on the Majority Report. March 5th, 2020. The Young Turks union fight gets nastier with charges of retaliatory firing and withholding raises. So Cenk doesn't seem to think that withholding raises, firing people, captive audience meetings, which are now illegal in the state of California, forcing a do-over by rejecting contract, none of that tracks as union busting to him. To finish, I'm going to be saying versions of that sentence for the next 20 minutes. Just get used to it. So here's more from the TYT workers. We love this company and its mission of providing a platform for progressive voices. It's why we work here. But we think TYT should live by its principles. Join us in demanding an end to this senseless union-busting campaign. It really was senseless. Like, for all the fucking Sturm and Drang that came up out of this, the only entity that benefited was, and again, I don't know what TYT paid the union-busting law firms. We're going to see more about that in a second. But, like, they got paid for their work. I mean, I doubt they were pro bono. I don't know what they did as far as this union busting, but they were representing them on the NLRB case. Both of them. Cases, I should say. So their goal was 12,800. They only got 10,166. Boo. So that's the TYT union workers. Exhibit 1. IATSE detailed the Young Turks' tactics in this thread. They refused to recognize. I'll just click on it. So here's IATSE's thread. It says, thread, an ongoing list of the tired union busting tactics being used by the Young Turks. Sign TYT unions petition and tell management their senseless union busting campaign must end. Seeing this word union busting coming up a bunch, aren't we? This was on March 11th, 2020 when they tweeted this out. So here's the tactics TYT is using. IATSE says, 1, the Young Turks refuse to recognize TYT union without a do-over election on the company's terms. 2, holding a tense captive audience meeting and pressuring production and post-production workers not to support a union at TYT. 3, firing a union supporter for creating a hostile work environment. That's in quotes. 4, holding annual wage increases and bonuses hostage while I do that sometimes too. Oh. All right. I have got a cat that was that light behind me is kind of bright, isn't it? Anybody need a cat? I'm trying to get rid of this cat. She's a nice cat. Okay. Getting rid of a cat is so difficult. She was starving outside my building and I couldn't deal with that. And then now I can't deal with her living inside my building. So I gotta, okay. 4, holding annual wage increases and bonuses hostage while workers pursued union recognition. We were forced to file unfair labor practice charges for these 2. 5, we'll get back to that. 5, the Young Turks attempted to gerrymander the group of employees by excluding some coworkers from coverage in the union. Straight out of the union busting playbook. And now click on union busting playbook. This just gives you a bunch of stuff about the way unions work. So, common bluffs. This is a bunch of bullshit. Having a union will ruin our family work environment. Please give us another chance. Cenk does stuff like that in the emails. Joining a union may involve you in violence. I don't think nobody ever talked about violence. Thank God we don't like violence. The union can force you to strike, but when you strike, they won't support you. Union is only interested in your money. Yeah, so you get a bunch of stuff. You will lose your job. Well, somebody did lose their job from this one, which is just rotten, man. All right. Back to the thread here. So that's IATSE tweeting that out. Exhibit number 3. I'm not going to do exhibits for each one of these, but because there's just this list goes on and on and on. From the third post of that IATSE thread, it says, we were forced to file unfair labor practice charges for these 2. One produced this notice, a response to violating Section 7 of the NLRA, which hung on TYT's wall for 60 days. Does this count as evidence? Go ahead and pause it and read it. And this is customized. These aren't just like a form letter. So it gives it workers information. They were required to hang this on their wall in a very clear spot for 60 days. It says that down here. This notice must remain posted for 60 consecutive days from the date of posting and must not be altered, defaced, or covered by any. So here we go. It says, we will not interfere with, restrain, or coerce you in the exercise of the above rights. And you can read the above rights there about your right to join or assist a union. And to act together with other employees for your benefit and protection. Like I said, I didn't have health insurance until the last 2 months of a 14-month, like that was the total time. So I was unionizing because I felt very unsafe without health insurance. We will not promulgate, maintain, or enforce a rule requiring that you bring your complaints only to management. So you're not supposed to just require that workers are required to tell management about everything. That's like dictator stuff, because workplaces are dictatorships, which is why people like Cenk love them. Democracy is a threat to their power. It changes the way leverage works. We will not threaten you with unspecified reprisals if you choose to be represented by or support a union. In the Huffington Post article, let me search for the phrase throw. Here we go. His talk, at times emotional, the staffer said, with Uygur throwing his papers to the ground at one point and chastising an employee, seemed to contradict the progressive worker-first ethos that TYT broadcasts to its millions of lefty followers. Jack Gerard, who is acting as the company's chief operating officer as Uygur runs for Congress in California, told the staff that they were not discouraging unionization. Jack Gerard, before he worked for the Young Turks, something like 9 or 10 years ago, he's been with TYT for quite a while, was a health insurance executive for Kaiser Permanente and I want to say Blue Shield of California. He had 12 years, and before that was other kind of consulting and stuff. This is all from his LinkedIn. I don't think it's public anymore, but it was, and that's why it's in the film. TYT's number 2 is a guy who has the ethics of a health insurance executive. That's this Jack guy, because he's a health. That's a. I don't know. I'm not sure people are going to care about that, but that's just one of those weird details. We will not ask you about employee support for a union, because the bosses have all the power in these situations. They're still like have the ability to kind of threaten just by the fact that they can fire you, that you can be let go. They can make your workplace an unsafe and unhealthy, stress. They can crank up the ways that you experience stress in your workplace. The power imbalance is inherent in every single interaction. We will not in any like or related manner interfere with your rights under Section 7 of the Act, the NLRA. Here's one that quotes TYT, and this is pointed out in the film specifically. We will rescind the rule we promulgated in the following statement to employees. I ask that you all bring your concerns directly to bracket management rather than using Slack or emails that get sent to broad audiences. And we will notify employees in writing that this has been done. So they were literally using their power to prevent their own workers from the potential risk that the company would face if the truth got out. This is the Young Turks. Here's a clip from Tell the Truth, Cenk, about the NLRB notice we just looked at. Are they as cool with union busting as their silence suggests? Speaking of cowardly silence, back here in 2022, this notice from the NLRB informing workers of their rights showed up in my mailbox as part of a settlement agreement related to the firing of a worker from the bargaining unit. They're required to physically mail former employees, email current employees, and post this in a prominent location for 60 days. A released document from a FOIA request indicates it was placed on the wall-facing kitchen and water cooler. As a daily kitchen user, I can assure you that's a heavily trafficked spot. Only marijuana would have missed it. Look close. That last one? It quotes management's rule that concerns be brought directly to management rather than via Slack or emails that get sent to broad audiences. They were worried the truth would get out and use the leverage they have over workers to keep the audience in the dark. Secrecy favors the powerful. For 60 days, evidence that a prominent progressive CEO violated labor laws sat on the wall by the coffee machine and nary a peep from any of the journalists or hosts at TYT. Themselves literally on the other side of that wall telling a camera about employers who abuse workers and violate labor laws. So every single of these stories, if you look closely enough at the dates, those are all within that 60-day period. So the Young Turks covers union violations. They cover companies doing malfeasance in terms of the way their workers are organizing. And in order to do that, and I'll show you, I'm not sure exactly where they, let me back it up 5 seconds. So I'm not sure exactly where they posted the thing, but if you look behind Cenk here, is it, okay, I went too far back. All right, yeah, okay. Is that a prominent, right? Okay, so you could see things posted up on the wall behind him, like the government, like OSHA poster stuff. You know, nobody ever really looks at that crap, you know, but it's in a prominent spot. This is the Kachet. Progressive CEO violated labor law. Yeah, all this crap behind him. So I'm guessing it was somewhere along this wall. Maybe it was somewhere in the kitchen. I don't know, but that would be my bet. Which is also why I placed it. Sat on the wall by right there. So like, you grab your coffee, you go into the room to do your show about some other company doing union busting, and you walk past a notice that says notice to employees. Machine and so, yeah, there's more to it. Literally on the other side of we'll get that wall, telling come on, camera stop. All right, yeah. So, oh god damn it, did I just close it? Okay, that's the NLRB. Oh well, fuck. There's more. All right, well, you can see we're at the NLRB website. We're going to do a search. We'll go cases and decisions. Oh, God. Case search. A little bit slow. This is actually really fascinating to dig into some of these, you know, filings. Almost most government sites, that's a, you know, but like a lot of government sites have documents that are public records that you can search and stuff. The National Archives is really interesting. I found Cenk's FEC filings that showed that in 2008 he made his income was $327,000. So that's interesting. That's in the doc somewhere. So here we are, NLRB search, the Young Turks. Oops, I capitalized the U. Let's hit enter. See what comes up. You can do this yourself. Make a TikTok of you doing this. Make a short. Make a reel. Make an X video. See, this. Why would you rename that website? Little slow. Little slow. We working on it. Got to send that money to those governments that blow up other people. 2 case results for the Young Turks. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's open up both. What is tab open here? So here's one. Both are closed. You can read it here. The allegations are concerted activities, retaliation, discharge, and discipline. I believe this one is related to the withholding raises and bonuses. This law firm right here, Mitchell, Silverberg, and Knupp. This is a fascinating one. This is TYT's law firm. Search Google. Click on it. This is in the film, by the way. This is who they are, what we do. There's a labor section. Click on that. Labor, litigation, and counseling. And full practice. What's that? Weird. Young Turks uses a union avoidance law firm? Like these highly paid ghoul factories. They don't really have factories. They're more of a ghoul assembly. These highly paid ghoul. Why am I thinking of putting grapes? I'm thinking of like gluing grapes together. Okay, I'm getting distracted here. These highly paid anti-worker management side law firms that help companies avoid unions and bust unions and negotiate do negotiations for them on their behalf and win cases and do this arbitration stuff. But if you notice closely, and you can go to the history of this company, they're very proud of it. They have this more fancier site or fancier page on this website talking about them representing the AMPTP, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Ever heard of that? Remember when the IATSE actions were happening with the writer strike, the actors on strike, SAG, Writers Guild, and the opposition to them was these dudes, they cut trees down to make more sunlight outside their big buildings. They were doing all kinds of shady stuff. One of them was quoted as saying, "We will let them starve out. We're going to wait this out till they start losing their homes." That's the AMPTP. The Young Turks uses the same law firm that the AMPTP uses. What evidence, Cenk says. Back to the NLRB. Here's the other case. This one's a bit bigger. This is the one related to the firing of somebody. Under allegations, we have a bunch. Discharge, including layoff and refusal to hire, not salting. Interrogation, including polling. Discharge of supervisor, Parker Rob Chevrolet. Concerted activities, retaliation, discharge, discipline. Coercive statements, threats, promises of benefits. Coercive rules. Huh. That's kind of interesting, doesn't it? Throwing his papers to the ground, chastising an employee. Coercive rules. Right here. Does this not count as evidence for Cenk's union busting? People say that there's a gas leak at TYT. It turns out it's gaslight. There's more. There's so much more. The Young Turks union busting also included a major breach of journalistic ethics. This isn't necessarily evidence. I could probably burn past this. If you're familiar with my shit, you're familiar with this stuff right now. But they told their audience that the union originated as a ploy by Cenk's political opponents. They did this without fact-checking. This is an outrageous lie that has never been retracted. And so I just have some of the stuff that came up regarding them doing that. We'll just jump past that since that's not technically evidence of the union busting. It's just evidence that they didn't respect their audience enough to tell them the truth about why their workers secretly unionized. This is a still from the screen. I like this part. His eyes move. Spoiler. I could. There's so much more I want to do with filmmaking. There's me. I put a red circle on stuff because I'm really good at Photoshop and I want to get a job. Someone hire me to do graphics, please. I could do like 3 days a week. For God's sakes, I'm really fucking good and fast. All right, so I talk about my working conditions. I talk about here how I felt like I was being robbed. I wanted equal treatment. The stress. Felony theft in California starts at $950 on holidays and PTO alone. I was locked out of 20 days of pay, amounting to $3,460. Now, again, this is not necessarily evidence of Cenk's union busting. I think I need to feed the cat. See, I have a cat in my room, and cats shouldn't be in a room like this. I don't like having my door open. Like, everything is bad about it. Okay. What the fuck? Am I on the wrong? Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, I had the wrong one. That's the thread I had attached to Cenk's tweet. No wonder. I was like, I don't remember. Because I do remember kind of sticking to the point. Okay. Trying to, at least. Jeez. Forgive me for that. That was some good information, though, anyway. So I'll leave it in. Yeah, so here I write, TYT host and Cenk himself walked past that notice from the NLRB for 60 days and no one deemed it worthy of coverage as a news item. Other union stories at the company, yes, but the Young Turks audience was kept in the dark about Cenk's behavior. Here's another. Here are the two cases. I didn't link them, but AMPTP. Yeah, so this is sort of the same stuff we just looked at. These are those. Means TV. Our friend Sam Sachs, a guy I'd hope to get in touch with at some point, because there's probably like one of the few places on the planet that'll hire me, that might hire me, I should say. So they actually covered the hiring of a union busting attorney. Credit to a progressive outlet. I don't know if they'd call themselves progressives, but like no progressive outlet covered any of this. But of course, our friends over at Means TV did, and you should go support them.
We got the best bumpers in the business there. We got a carpet wall and the best bumpers in the business. What more?
Get to the point.
Want? So, 2 charges were filed with the National Labor Relations Board this week related to the Young Turks unionizing efforts. It's been a bad month for Cenk Uygur. He got smoked in his congressional race, 4th place, got 5% of the vote, and then he got busted busting a union at his media company. The charges were brought by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, which is working to organize the production and editing crews at the Young Turks. The network is charged with unlawful terminations and punishing concerted activity. Twitter user at Brandon Magner flagged who the Young Turks have hired to represent them. Turns out it's a notorious union buster. Some guy named Gregory Hessinger at a law firm, Mitchell, Silderberg, and Knupp. Hessinger boasts on his profile on the company website that he's successfully defended a network-owned major market television station against high-profile wrongful discharge. Cool dude. He successfully defended a major advertiser against unfair labor practice charges, successfully defended a public transportation company against unfair labor practice charges, represented major regional sports network, and successfully defeating 2 separate union organizing drives. Okay, this guy sucks. This guy sucks. Cenk, just recognize the union, dummy.
Cenk, all you had to do was recognize the fucking union, man. You have an idea how much trouble you would have saved for everybody? I don't have to make this fucking movie. Although by that point, it had already been, you know, completely hosed with my working conditions, and I definitely wasn't going to go quiet about that crap. Sorry, I just don't work that way. I'm going to take a break, feed the cat, edit. Okay, cat's been fed. We can resume our life. TYT Union tweeted out questions about how much money Cenk was sending to these high-priced union-busting lawyers. They wrote, "We love TYT and its vital platform for progressive voices. That's why we work here. Nobody wants to bankrupt it. But recognizing our right to a voice at work costs nothing. How much of the $2 million TYT is raising will go to high-priced union-busting lawyers?" Great question. As I wrote, Cenk should disclose this information to his audience, the people who fund him, or at least explain why they don't deserve to know. Like if I was still a paying member of the Young Turks and I found out about this and I had some kind of copacetic, is that the right word? If I had some sort of shared affinity with the principles that I'm supporting with my money, and I found this out, I'd be like, wait a minute, how much of my money did you give to these scoundrels, union-busting lawyers? Like I remember, as we talked about, union-busting lawyers and consultants are just the second of the worst next to union busters themselves. And then scabs are somewhere below that on that hierarchy. Does the audience have a right to know? Should they be told how much money Cenk Uygur sends to anti-worker law firms? Does the home of progressives want to disclose that it uses the same law firm that represents the AMPTP? Maybe there's a case to be made for why these are separate items. Their principles that they profess to the world are different than the way they operate their business. Maybe there's a perfectly reasonable case for that. Like in my case, having a guy work under multiple classifications so as to get 0 benefits, perhaps there's a defense for that sort of thing. I had to go to sleep and I said, go read these articles again. So I came back. Still more with the snorkel bubbles. I was very impressed with the idea that I would stack them up. This took so many extra taps. What an annoying thing. So here's more evidence. TYT Union reveals the NLRB paperwork relating to their boss, Cenk, withholding money they'd earned. A very common union busting tactic. Dude literally denied workers their own money. It was their money. And he had it. And he said, you don't get your money until you submit to my will. I'm paraphrasing. But they link to this. This is Cenk speaking here in these Times article. He said, if IATSE doesn't object to TYT giving the raises, we would be more than happy to do so. Then they included the filing against the Young Turks. This is United States of America National Labor Relations Board charge against employer. Do not write in this space, it says. So, I mean, just look at it. You can pause it. Streaming media, production company. Cenk Uygur, CEO. They redacted stuff, which is good. On behalf of the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees. Basis of the charge set forth a clear and concise statement of the facts constituting the alleged unfair labor practices. Within the 6 months immediately preceding the firing of this charge, the above named employer, by and through its agents, violated Section 8A1 of the Act by withholding predetermined wage increases and bonuses in response to a union's demand for voluntary recognition. By the above and other acts, the above-named employer has interfered with, restrained, and coerced employees in the exercise of their rights guaranteed them by Section 7 of the Act. Is that evidence, Cenk? Wharton Business School should be humiliated by this guy. And now I think Columbia Law School should be fucking humiliated by this guy if he doesn't think that that's evidence. It's not. He knows what it is. He knows what he did. It's that he doesn't respect his audience. Because you don't respect an audience if you're lying to them like that. Such bullshit, dude. 5 weeks and one NLRB case later, the wages and bonuses were released and by the millionaire boss of TYT. Cenk's intimidation campaign wasn't over, but this was a rightful win for the workers. TYT union said, "We are pleased to announce that TYT management has agreed to stop withholding our bonuses and raises hostage while we pursue unionization. They've informed us we'll get them next week. 5 weeks overdue." So COVID was kicking in around now. I'm not sure. At some point in this process, the TYT went remote. And for a lot of those jobs, like producer and video editor and stuff, like you can do the work remotely and you can even film a lot remotely. To their credit, that's the right thing to do. But they had to go into work. Like my friends had to go into the same building before they went remote, right? So they had to go into work and still do their jobs while Cenk and Anna are spreading lies about them outside of the company. And while NLRB cases are being filed, while they're withholding their raises. Imagine going into your job, and your boss is sitting in the other room and he has the power to release you, to give you a raise and a bonus that you've been promised, and he's not. That is, come on, man. I don't know why this post is unavailable. What the fuck? That's kind of weird. Okay, hang on. All right. So, to continue my thread here, TYT union used the phrase union busting. Again, is it marshaled support for their fight against Cenk's attempt to deny them their fundamental right to collectively organize? That hashtag is right. Union busting is disgusting. And then when I click on it, I can see the tweet. So it's a tweet from, oh my God, what the hell just happened? It jumped me way down. Okay, here it is. So they're replying to somebody, IATSE. Okay, they're replying to somebody. You're one of the bold progressive voices who understands the struggles of regular working people. Can you pledge your support of our fight against union busting at TYT? I included that one because they use the word union busting. That's pretty much all I did, was just go through their whole thing and just get everything that says union busting. I corrected myself as it marshaled. Sorry. Typing while surfing. I made it up. I wasn't actually surfing. I was waiting for my mom's shrimp to defrost. She served it to me with cheese. All right, so then I got back to a nice Saturday. I finally had time to work on it again. Remember, I'm destroying my relationships with my family over all this. Room temperature shrimp, it sucks. Sean Fain, UAW Chief of Staff Chris Brooks, Chactivist, CHACTIVIST, recaps Cenk's union busting. His recap includes: Cenk Uygur refuses to voluntarily recognize the union. Cenk Uygur admits workers who support the union have been denied promised raises and bonuses. An outspoken pro-union worker was fired by Cenk Uygur after the CEO returned to work from failed congressional bid. And this dude here is Chief of Staff for Sean Fain. I would love it if these big unions got a hold of my project. Come on, guys. I'm not in a union, but I'm one of y'all. Would you fucking just put it out there? Say, hey, everybody, let's support a homie. This guy's been fighting this weird battle by himself, and he's trying to teach people about how this process works. I really hope this thing is educational. That's my dream is that in 10 years, people will be like, I watched that union movie you made. It's great. It's one of my favorite anti-corporate call-out films. You know, like I want it to be in the past, but I want it to be something that people refer to because it's educational, entertaining, and filled with heart. President of the AFL-CIO, Liz Schuler, accurately describes Cenk's behavior as lying for claiming to be on the side of workers. I came to this understanding, too, when I worked full-time for Cenk for zero benefits under multiple classifications. Here's Liz's tweet. Loving this article by Grim Kim, she wrote the New Republic one. A boss who claims to be on the workers' side but won't recognize its union is lying, she writes. And Grim Kim wrote, thanks so much, Liz. Very cool. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for your support. Here's a good spot for this excellent montage by the MPEG 700 of Cenk claiming to be for workers and their right to organize. He doesn't mean a word of it. Warning, maximum hypocrisy. Bonus Hassan the Hun is in it. Trying to get Hassan's attention. I used to edit some of his videos. He should, you know, recognize that there's this effort going on here at the company where he emerged. The mud from which his Uruk-hai was born. That's a Lord of the Rings talk there. But like this is literally the labor that built his career. The people in this union. Studio techs, graphics, and editors. Especially the one editor that was his primary. Person is so talented, and he should write her big old check for several $100,000. Do it, Hassan. I don't have a beef with Hassan, but I do think this is the kind of thing that his audience would care about, as well as he could have some interesting commentary on. I just jumped to a different thread I had written, but I want you to see another reason I think Hassan would be interested in this story.
I wanted to move to Los Angeles anyway. And my uncle was like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious like labor regulations because his family. I wanted to move to Los Angeles anyway. And my uncle was like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious like labor regulations because his family.
Sorry, we did that twice. This guy here, Will Neff, then tells a quick anecdote about how when Hassan was working at TYT, and I was there at this time, like 2013, 2014, and he was doing sales or something. I didn't really know what his full job was or anything, but Will Neff then talks about how Haas would work up like a deal and was about to get a commission, and then like Cenk would swoop in and take the commission away from him. So, come on, Hassan, get involved, buddy. What the fuck labor regulations are you talking about?
An opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious like labor regulations because his family.
You know, it's family. That's great. So back to the thread here with the evidence. We're not going to watch the MPEG 700 video. We've already watched that in this podcast, or part of it at least. Incredibly hypocritical, you know, in every way possible. But hypocrisy, I find a little boring. It's not at all the main focus here. So, former AFL-CIO president Richard Trumka, a famous name you might have heard, writes, "This is union busting plain and simple. I call on Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks to follow their principles and voluntarily recognize the card authorization vote of TYT union." Couldn't be put more plainly than that. Thank you, Richard. Tell everybody in your union that the guy out here needs your help. I need union help, man. The AFL-CIO again put it out. It is, I write, it is indeed disgusting, and so is gaslighting your audience about being one. They wrote, union busting is disgusting with the hand clap emojis. So they go, union busting is disgusting. Fucking nailed that one on the first try. TYT union released a long statement full of evidence. Another textbook union busting tactic, they say, referring to Cenk trying to manipulate the bargaining unit in his favor. Let's read it. The way forward is clear. The Young Turks needs to respect the choice we have already made instead of trying to pressure us out of it. Count the cards, Union Strong, TYT Live. So this is February 25th of 2020. Remember, the shit hit the fan on February 21st. That's when all of it became public. TYT union came forward for the first time publicly on the 12th, but the union busting didn't get become a public deal until the 21st. So they wrote this note or this statement. We have officially notified the company that their election proposal doesn't work for us. We already voted, in italicized, by signing union cards. We offered to have a neutral party confirm our majority on cards. Progressives and all the major Democratic presidential candidates agree that card check is the fair way for workers to democratically choose a union without being bullied by the boss. The Young Turks said they would only recognize our union after having us vote again, in italics, in an election on the company's terms. TYT made no offer to remain neutral in any new election. This lack of employer neutrality is especially troubling given management's union-busting conduct in a mandatory captive audience staff meeting held on Wednesday, February 12th, reported on yesterday in the Huffington Post. Worse, TYT is attempting to manipulate who is eligible for the election, including trying to exclude multiple co-workers who share a community of interest. Another textbook union-busting tactic. The way forward is clear. Underlined here. TYT needs to respect the choice we have already made instead of trying to pressure us out of it. That's not me talking. This is the workers talking. It's not Richard Trumka. Look, someone even gave the word. See, this is an example. This person says, you guys are strangely quiet now. Cenk's election is over. The whole thing stinks. So the Young Turks workers had to be put on defensive against TYT audience. Like, this is the thing Cenk did to his workers with this bullshit. And they answered this person with the In These Times article, the myth of the New Republic, the myth of the progressive boss in the New Republic, and other stuff from them. And then they wrote, quiet, nah, you just haven't been paying attention. This is the stuff I'm talking about. This is the thing. These people were going to work and working their asses off, and they were underpaid and disrespected. And then they had to do it while the people that were lying about them were in the same fucking room or on the other side of a studio wall. And the workers still had to make them look good and sound good and do good graphics and edit. While their audience is out here coming up with completely bullshit things. Sahil Habibi of the Progressive Voice called the workers snakes. And he's the only one of the ethical dark web, which is the grouping that in the film that got upset about the New York Times smear. He is the only one who didn't go quiet after the union busting came forward, and he came out with anti-worker stuff. Just totally just shitting on the workers. Really not okay. But my point is that Cenk enabled that. Cenk not just enabled that, Cenk set the conditions for that. He made that happen. By attacking his own workers publicly with this bullshit lie that it was about his campaign. Because what Cenk needed to accomplish with the conspiracy lie was two things. Okay? Two things he was able to accomplish with that. This fiction that the reason the union started was as a response to him becoming a politician. That it was, outsiders that influenced his dumb workers into unionizing. So that's the version they told. One, it prevents his audience from asking the question, why did your workers unionize? So he avoids the accountability of having to tell the truth about why workers at his company secretly unionized. The reason they unionized is because they're idiots. They got tricked and they got manipulated by my political opponents. Two, it justifies the union busting by saying, this is an attack on me from Nancy Pelosi and Christy Smith, and IATSE endorsed Christy Smith at the behest of Nancy Pelosi. Anna Kasparian said in the Nomiki interview, which is going to be in the film, that Nancy Pelosi was following TYT union. Like they literally linked it to Nancy Pelosi directly, as if that's evidence for why this union why these workers don't deserve their rights. Come on. I wasn't able to confirm if Nancy Pelosi ever followed someone on Twitter. I don't know how to look that up. My sources said they never saw that. AOC followed them on Twitter, though. So Cenk was able to avoid having to tell his audience why his workers unionize. In other words, revealing that he's a shitty boss. And he was able to come up to justify the union busting as not as union busting, but as him pushing back against this evil establishment. And as I keep saying, I would have been fine if they needed some time to do some fact checking. If they had said, this is weird, we're suspicious, but we don't want to smear our workers, so we're going to be careful. We're going to make sure that we get this information correct before we go forward. Who do we know that was involved? Absolutely, that would lead to me. There's no way about it, because especially since I was no longer an employee. Like, I had more freedom to, talk then at that point, and I was tweeting at them when it happened. But they didn't fact check because they knew the truth. That's why they didn't do any fucking fact checking. I think in Anna's case, you could give her some grace that things were difficult and stressful, and she trusted her source. I think she deserves to be called out for failing to fact check, for spreading misinformation. But I think that in her case, her loyalty to Cenk in this crazy, weird situation created this cloud. She'd already been under a lot of stress, and Cenk took advantage of that loyalty. Anna, if you need me to teach you how to edit podcasts, let me know. I'll be glad to get you up to speed. We could do any program you want. Writer of the New Republic piece, Grim Kim, posted, as a lot of writers do, they'll put snippets up of their pieces and stuff, wrote, using the "but not everyone supports it" excuse to avoid recognizing TYT union is bullshit. Unions don't go public with campaigns until they've already reached majority support among the workers. Union busting is disgusting. Kim Kelly goes on. Staffers said their first organizing discussions date back more than 2 years, and their recent attempt to round up support began shortly before Uygur declared his candidacy. I have many criticisms of Vice as a company and a brand and a place to work and a place to freelance. She worked at Vice and helped start the union at Vice. But even they recognized Vice Union in an hour. Imagine running a lefty media outlet and being shittier to your workers than Vice. So again, like I've been saying, Cenk has to prove that the workers that talked to Kim Kelly were lying, if we're going to believe his version of the how someone writes, the workers don't want their company to shut down. Kim responds, like how disingenuous do you have to be to read, "We like working here and would like to make our jobs a little better," as "we would like the company to go bankrupt and render ourselves unemployed"? And the person answered, "Yep. Yep." I should say, not yup, yep. Yep. I like Kim Kelly's work. I know she just had a book. Support labor journalists always. So, TYT Union posted the HuffPost piece by Dave Jameson. Workers interviewed in all four articles, all spoke anonymously out of fear of retaliation, except me. I've just gone and hobbled myself by being public about this stuff, because who's gonna I'll never get hired. It's the worst. We love the company. We're just getting the company to live by its principles. TYT Union wrote. Now here's a good example of confusion. I have not seen Atomic Elbow on Twitter. Probably had the good sense to get off of it in the last year or two. So no shade to Atomic Elbow. I've interacted with this person a few times and seemed fine, good faith. That's what I'm saying. So, but a fan of the company, and I don't know about these days, but people were rightfully confused. Atomic Elbow wrote, to any hashtag TYT Live or at TYT Army 3 following, hold your fire until we understand the totality of what's going on. Many of us support unions or are in unions. TYT have given clarification on what's happening. I'll wait to see how TYT Union and IATSE respond. So very reasonable, but I'm just pointing this out as a example of the confusion that was desired by Cenk. Like the cloud, kind of the dust, the silt being stirred up on the bottom of the river, the cloudiness that then becomes useful, because no one's really saying. I assume Atomic Elbow would probably be like, "Oh, wow, wait, you guys unionized because Cenk denies health care to people using classification? That's not cool. I'm sorry I gave you guys money every month for the last X number of years. Instead, it becomes, even a very reasonable person says, hey, let's hold off on any judgment until we know what's going on. Mission accomplished. Cenk doesn't have to necessarily completely trick you. He just has to give you a reason to put off finding any findings of any conclusive findings, right? You know what I meant. TYT Union expressed dismay about Cenk's refusal to voluntarily recognize and looked forward to see their values. Here we are again, February 23rd. Let's be clear. This is TYT Union. We're dismayed that the Young Turks rejected our offer to prove majority via third-party card check, but we hope they'll come around. We're proud of the content we helped make. We look forward to seeing our values reflected on the job as well as on screen. This is important. Because the values that are reflected on screen are not the same as what's reflected on the job. At least that was my experience. You cannot tell me that Cenk's advocacy for health care for all, Medicare for all, single payer health insurance, or as president, he was for a public option, but he's a real big deal on the paid family leave and wage increases, and he's all about this stuff. And then you go work for him, and the first thing he makes you do is sign a contract saying you're an independent contractor, no benefits. 7 months go by, you complain. He fixes it by changing your classification to part-time, and you're working 40-hour weeks. Still no benefits. So the values that are on the job are not the same as what's on the screen. And the thing isn't that TYT is, we want them to live their we wanted them to live their values. At least this is me saying this now, not speaking for any group. They do live their values. You always live your values. You might have to compromise here and there on the way you assess your values. I think we all feel that sort of stress in this world of compromising. I sure feel guilty when I put a piece of plastic in the garbage. But TYT lives their values. They're just not at all what they tell the audience their values are. Because you can't convince me that he's a big proponent of people having safety in the form of healthcare access. If you work, in my case, I worked for him, and it took 12 months of full-time work before I was allowed to have health insurance from the company. 12 months of full-time work before I was allowed to get a paid day off. So those are Cenk Uygur's values. You know, you should at least live the values that your audience thinks they support. I wasn't looking for special anything, by the way. $21.63 an hour. I'd been having a really hard time mentally in my life at the time. I still am. Turned out I'm autistic. I didn't know that at the time. Along with a lot of the downstream kind of effects of such a thing. If you're a late identified autistic person, you probably understand, but it's been a big deal for me. And I was really struggling. I was having all kinds of weird meltdowns and struggling, and things were getting crazy in my brain. And I wasn't trying to get special treatment. I just wanted a job where I could, because I gave everything to my work. I did a very good job for them, and I just wanted to be able to feel okay and not have the stress of this second tierification, and be able to see a doctor and get paid for a day off. So I started a union. So I helped start a union, right? I wasn't expecting Cenk to live this progressive fantasy, but at least the fucking minimum of paying people when they have a day off, of allowing them to have company health insurance, or maybe I don't like taking it away, but I would have felt more fair if everybody got treated the same horrible way, right? Not that that's the argument. You get that a lot in America. Well, if I don't want that person to have it, so we both don't get it. It's like, no, everybody. All right. Labor writer, author Sean Richmond writes, this is literally the position of every union busting employer. Are you guys tired of the evidence? I'm getting tired of the evidence. I know. It's a fucking drag. Here's Sean Richmond writing. So you refuse to recognize a union based on a demonstrated majority of union support. You want an election? This is literally the position of every union busting employer. This is simple. Recognize the union. And he asterisks it to say that doesn't deny their workers are employees under the law. TYT Union writes, we approached IATSE for help months ago. Here's the tweet. This is all about TYT workers coming together in union. February 21st, 2020. We approached IATSE for help months ago. TYT's response, don't even mention us. They're workers. This is about us, all caps. And TYT's refusal to grant card check and recognize our choice, not politics or conspiracies. This is a big thing here, is the kind of whole story. You really get a feeling for the lack of us in it. The agency of the workers was like non-existent. And it really feels that way, the way it's been talked about, the way it's been, the damage control that they've been doing. I wouldn't even say it, that maybe I should pull that back. Like, at least when Anna was on the Numiki Khan show, because there's very little stuff of them talking about this crap, right? But all this communication does not ever really acknowledge workers taking initiative to do something about their own workplace conditions, because that would crack open the door for workers to ask them, why did they unionize? So here's the first day, February, or at least the first day it became, the union busting becomes public. I just wrote that out. And TYT Union tweeted, when we announced our decision to go union with IATSE over a week ago, we had hoped the Young Turks would respect our choice and voluntarily recognize our union. We are dismayed to report they have refused. So Hillary Agro writes, what WTF? I like Hillary. Andrew Gerald Jones writes, the latest reason why my former news organization, the Young Turks, are frauds. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, and John Iadarola need to come to support the TYT units that are being against it. And you too as well, Ryan Grimm. And I don't know Andrew Jones. That must have been a different time period. Yeah. I tweeted this chunk from the film. Starts right about here with delay, but I wanted to really dial in on the graphics here. I think these graphics are very good. I've gotten good reviews on the graphics that are in this sequence.
Something. This misleading language is designed to obscure the fact that they had refused voluntary recognition. Actual voluntary recognition marks the start of the negotiation phase, but TYT refused to negotiate because they refused to recognize, insisting instead on a new election at a later date, buying themselves time during which management would employ the array of coercive and deceptive union busting techniques. Delay is an extremely common union busting tactic. This guy here, Martin J. Levitt, he was a professional union buster for 30 years, but his conscience finally caught up to him for all the damage he did.
Everything. Delay was one of my favorite tactics. It wears you down, it frustrates you. It lays the climate for the divisiveness. It frustrates people. It's, well, you know, what good is our union? We've been trying to accomplish this for 2 years now and nothing's happened. It gives the employee relations function of the company the tools that they need to sell themselves as the real solution for the pilots or for the union members, as opposed to the union.
The thread paints TYT as IATSE's victim and finishes with a blast of paranoid nonsense, suggesting that not agreeing to TYT's demands would be proof that no employee supported the union and that the whole thing was actually a ploy to intimidate us and the people who work at TYT. Arnold?
Come on, don't bullshit me.
Got him. I put poop on Arnold Schwarzenegger's forehead.
Arnold?
Come on, don't bullshit me.
Yes! My plan has finally come to fruition. The sea bottom approaches, back to the Twitter thread. Not sure the snorkel motif worked, but I went with it, Mermaid. It'll translate to animation when I finish the film. Please consider supporting. I funded it with rent, debt, and loneliness. Years of work, none of it fun. My smiles are just the only way my body can frown. Deleted and reposting. Had the wrong link. Okay, so I'm trying to do it again. Starting in the spring of 2018, stalling, resuming in spring of 2019, spurred in no small part to my working conditions plus other reasons, TYT Union's secret unionizing became public on what was once called Twitter. And this is their statement from the Young Turks, who decided to start the union and put out a statement. Bernie Sanders didn't really weigh in, although would love to hear from you, old burn bag. I shook your hand at the Young Turks once when you were visited. Got a photo of that somewhere. You just see me from the back, but I'm tall and bald, so which means I'm easy to spot. Bernie Sanders, who was forced to retract his endorsement of Uygur's congressional bid 24 hours after he endorsed C-Film, lays out card check. Employers who refused should be penalized. End of discussion. Bernie writes, as president, I will guarantee this. When 50% of workers in a unit sign an authorization card, +1, they will have a union. End of discussion. If employers refuse to negotiate in good faith, we will impose strong penalties on those companies. I like when he gets quiet when he finishes a sentence. Now, you'd think that like a guy who got endorsed by Bernie, then had to unendorse with Bernie. I kind of want to watch that part of the film right now, but we're just going long. Am I still fucking recording? Yeah, okay. And you'd think Cenk would be in line with that. I don't think Cenk has the same kind of. I don't think. I know for literally completely sure that he doesn't care about workers in any sense. That besides the theoretical kind of way you do, if you're a fancy lad, the son of a rich landlord, goes to Columbia Law School, a Wharton Business School, big pedigree for being a hotshot corporate lawyer. So you're going to get the kind of boilerplate conservative bullshit, and included in that as so in other words, expecting Cenk to agree with Bernie on all these things might be a bridge too far to ask. But this is from the March 3rd election coverage. He knew that he was lost his election by this point, I'm pretty sure. And we have our favorite hair model, Ryan Grimm, on to talk. Here's what Cenk tells him.
Look, on card check, I don't. So this is one of the issues that I'm not that progressive on. I don't believe in card check.
Not big on democracy. We got it. Look. So Cenk doesn't like card check. And this is a month after he's in the middle of his union busting campaign when he said that. I don't believe in the thing that if I had believed in, I would have avoided being a union buster. And I would have avoided all this. And Hank wouldn't have had to make that fucking awesome movie. Although he probably still would have made a video at least about how he was out thousands of dollars because of the classification. Now, was there support from any TYT hosts, right? The only one I could find, I kind of vaguely remember John Iadarola tweeting a fist emoji. Haven't been able to find that. John, if you find it, send it to me. I will correct the record. No problem. I don't want to impugn anybody. But the only person who, as a host, besides Anna, who put out any information was Francesca Fiorentini, who I quite like a lot. I think she does a lot of really wonderful work, and her husband Matt Lieb has a great podcast called Bad Hezbollah, which is a really critical, important anti-disinformation stuff related to what's going on in the Middle East. She wrote, and she quoted on February 12th, 2020, at 9:37 a.m. She wrote this: "This crew works so hard and are some of the most committed people I've met." Fist. But where you can see the thumb fist, not just the knuckles fist, the thumb one fist. So good on you, Francesca. Thank you. I wouldn't say she and I knew each. I remember talking with her a few times. Once at a Christmas party, her and her husband, and he's tall like me. I think he's even taller than me, and she's tall too. And that's why it's a good. If you're going to be tall, marry a tall. What am I saying? I just remember being easily able to converse with them at this Christmas party at some restaurant. But yeah, we weren't like chummy, I wouldn't say, but she'd probably recognize me. She might know my name. I wouldn't hold it against her if she didn't. I don't expect that. It's not, I mean, I'm just, yeah, whatever. I always got good vibes though from her. So, yeah, it's awesome that she did that, but that's on the 12th. Now, I don't know when the captive audience meeting started, but Cenk held a captive audience meeting that day. That's in the Huffington Post article where he threw papers and threatened somebody. So this became, you got to imagine, this is basically telling, if you don't interpret, if you're another host, if you're John Iadarola and you're sitting there and this guy's yelling at everybody, talking about how he's being pranked, he thinks, or whatever other things he said, you're being given an order not to cover it. John's not going to go then do a story about it after the captive audience meeting. Part of what we have to understand about all this union busting and the captive audience meetings and the threatening people and the withholding raises and bonuses and the firing people is that you're threatening everybody else with those. The union busting kind of works in a sense because there's not a full union there yet. They should do that. What if that's how they respond to this project of mine here? Not that I think that's what they're only, they should do that necessarily. I mean, I think every worker deserves a union and deserves to have a right to a voice in their workplace, but I'm not saying I think I'm calling for that. Might be part of the way they come out of it, but those captive audience meetings. So Francesca works remotely. She's been at the studio plenty of times, obviously, but I doubt she was there. I can't confirm that or not. So I'm just kind of speculating. As I wrote here, this is speculation. I'm figuring that her remote status likely meant she missed the captive audience meeting Cenk held that day. Only Anna tweeted, and it wasn't kind. She signal boosted Anna signal boosted the conspiracy narrative Cenk and the Young Turks official account spread. She did zero fact checking, presumably trusting her source. She expressed suspicion and called it bad faith. Nope, neither are true. It was a genuine effort. And by the way, if Anna did do some fact checking and and you want to share that with me, I will update my audience. I will correct the record. Absolutely. I'll apologize. But if you did do fact checking and you still signal boosted something that wasn't true, that doesn't look great either. You know what I mean? So this is that tweet that she wrote. And then I go in on here saying that it's justifiable that they might have been suspicious at the beginning, I guess, but not checking with original sources before spreading the boss's preferred narrative is a stark breach of journalistic ethics. Yeah. Ken Klippenstein, former TYT reporter. I never really worked with him directly other than I edited the 2019 Thanksgiving special, and he submitted a clip for that. So I might have gotten an email from him at most. He wrote, defend TYT union on the 21st. So this is when the IATSE tweeted out, the Young Turks refused voluntary. I'm going to retweet that just to see what happens. Nothing will happen. Don't worry. Today, the Young Turks refused voluntary recognition of the TYT union. This is a disappointing decision from an organization that presents itself as progressive. And Ken Klippenstein posted one word, all caps, defend TYT union. Sam Sachs, who we saw from the Means TV reporting, does a great job. Everybody go support their YouTubes and all their other stuff. Wrote, still waiting, March 6th. So we're jumping around on the timeline. We're advancing forward a little bit in the timeline right now. He writes, still waiting on prominent TYT personalities and boosters to say one single supportive word of the TYT union. Instead, the organizing efforts were derided as a hit job against Cenk while he was running for office. Cenk got 5% of the vote. Time to recognize the union. TYT is a major news operation. It received $20 million in capital investment. The folks who work the cameras and create graphics and mic up the hosts want security on the job. Well-paid hosts who depend on them so they don't look silly on TV should be the most vocal in support. Our editing was going to cable packages. We were doing television editing for a variety for YouTube TV, for various distribution partners, and I was making $21.63 with zero benefits. Like, it's such, like, I would have been thrilled if I got it bumped up to $24 an hour. Somebody who is tangentially in the world here, I was talking with them about it, and I asked them to guess what I was making, just as a game, and they knew it was low. They were fully on board with this, like, thing I'm doing, kind of, but they were like, "Oh, okay, all right," and they were trying to figure a low number as for a video editor in Los Angeles pay rate, and they guessed 30. I was like, fuck, man, I would have felt richer than hell if I was making 30 an hour. That would have been amazing. He writes, reminds me of previous work in TV. You meet hosts who feel they are part of a big team in which everyone relies on each other to create something. Then you meet hosts who consider themselves above the production crew. They consider themselves the talent. They're unapproachable. Anyway, hopefully some of your faves do the right thing here. See, I agree with what he's saying there. Someone says Anna blocked them for asking about it. Okay. What's he replying to there? Is there? Okay. I haven't seen any apologies. Oh, TYT Union retweeted or answered them with 3 cricket emojis. Oh, damn. 3 cricket emojis. The perfect number of cricket emojis. So we're near the end, and our snorkel journey ends. And I'm saying here, I ask you to compare this trove of evidence to the clip at the top with the caller, Hansi, where Cenk says, I am definitely not a union buster, and that there is no evidence. Let's do that. Eventually. Sorry, it's so long. Here, just the short one. So you've just seen all this. Compared to this statement from Cenk.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So,
well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
what evidence? All right, brother, you've had a nice run. Bye-bye.
Okay, panic mode, gotta go. Don't want to get the truth revealed, do you, Cenk? Promote my film. You're the honesty company, right? Promote my fucking movie. I shouldn't be making demands. My only demand is, I'm just saying, if they were really truly believed in this honesty stuff, they would be telling their audience to check out my work and to see my film, if honesty mattered. But I am making a demand. Retract the story. Just do the basic journalistic repair. Nobody expects that to reach a big audience. Everybody knows corrections don't really go very far, but tell the fucking truth, Cenk. Retract the story about why you the version you told your audience about how the Young Turks unionized, that it was a ploy by your political opponents, because you know that was a fucking lie. Try to apologize too, but that's why the movie's called Tell the Truth, Cenk. Like the demand I'm making is I'm not trying to hide that. All right, rough edit there. Sorry, I just realized I've already wrapped the show. Then I remembered I had some stuff. We're gonna play it right now, and so my bad. Hope this isn't too confusing. There's not much to the wrap up anyway, but I'll find a spot to put this in here. So TYT, as I've been saying, has not retracted or apologized, right? And I think I'm making a pretty persuasive case that they should. In other words, that the information they put out was provably untrue, that while they might have had a reason initially to have some suspicion, they didn't do any fact checking, and that it was in service of a politically motivated cover-up and campaign, to protect the boss's political interests. So they should come out and retract and apologize. And they themselves would be the ones that tell you that they do. So I've got a couple of clips here of Cenk and Anna, mostly Cenk, but them saying how much they are for getting stories right, patting themselves on the back for doing so. And then the fourth clip will be Cenk's commitment to objective reality.
Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT, and if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually
claims they're honest, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. Let's prove it, guys. Come on, do it about your own fucking company here, huh? Here's Anna.
By the way, it doesn't mean that I could potentially be wrong. And when I'm wrong, I'm going to correct that error. And I've done that on the show before. Uriah Heep.
She has been making a show of her correcting stories that she got wrong in terms of her ideological shift. But I have yet to see any communication from her to her audience about being wrong about putting out information about the workers forming a union at her company. And you should. Here's Cenk again.
Greg 1118 says, so thankful to everyone that works for TYT for the truth. I know that if something is incorrect, it will be promptly fixed, and love to the best community on the internet. Thank you for saying that. We appreciate it. Yes, we actually care about truth. I know it's crazy in media these days, but we do.
Big swallow. But do you, Cenk?
For saying that. We appreciate it. Yes, we actually care about truth. I know it's crazy in media these days, but we do.
At least this is why Cenk should retract and at least attempt to apologize, because what he just said there, this is not a true statement.
It's crazy in media these days, but we do.
That he cares about truth. If you say that and then you have a record of retracting and apologizing, you could defend that argument. This is not a defensible statement as long as you have a huge freaking lie out there about your own company and your own workers, because it'll expose you for, you know, that's the thing Cenk is afraid of. He's afraid of being exposed for the kind of boss that he is.
Yes, we actually care about truth. I know it's crazy in media these days, but we do.
Okay, now relating this to the gaslight comment. Sorry, let me say that again. Relating this to Cenk denying that he's a union buster. I've been playing it over and over. You've heard me say it. No, I'm definitely not a union buster. Here, this is from like an ad they do, and he's speaking. I feel sorry for. I shouldn't say I feel sorry for these people, but people trust this guy. They look to him for leadership. He stands there and he receives it as if he deserves to be in this position. And meanwhile, he doesn't respect his audience enough to be honest about whether or not he's a union buster, right? And then he also believes that they'll buy this bullshit line that because his union busting failed, he can't possibly have been a union buster. Incredibly deceptive. And the thing that he gets at about in this little clip here is objective reality. He's even using that as marketing.
We fight with peace. We fight with hope and belief and faith in one another. And we do that's right with knowledge and facts and truth and things that are real. Objective reality matters. So much of our audience is scientists, teachers, engineers, data analysts, people who believe in objective reality, right? So thank you guys for believing in that. Thank you for believing in hope, and thank you for making it happen. I appreciate all of you.
Sorry, I had a little laugh, but let's listen to this.
So much of our audience, objective reality matters. So much of our audience.
Dude, come on. You're going to say that, and when you're asked about your union busting, you're going to pull some serious bullshit. What evidence? There's a lot of evidence. We just spent a fucking hour going over all of it. But what made me laugh, I thought this guy here was holding a package. I thought he had like a paper package, you know. I just was in my brain, I just had decided he was kind of clutching it. Like maybe he got a package he just didn't want to, I don't know, whatever reason, people sometimes have a package. But then I looked closer, it's just a part of his shirt. That's why I was like, oh, he's not holding a
objective reality, right? So
yeah, we do. We believe in objective reality. Do you, buddy? All right, edit back to the video because it's going to be a little awkward. I don't know where it's going to fit into, but okay. All right. So, oh yeah, let's leave this one up here. We'll probably play that one again. Okay. So, I say here, you know, the usual stuff kind of, I have no reach. Please boost, please share. What Cenk Uygur did is unethical, immoral, and deserves to be called out. My hope is to connect with a journalist who wants to investigate my claims and do a full accounting of this story. It covers every facet of the labor movement and the fight for workplace dignity. Interrogate my credibility. I know I come off a bit weird. Dragon emoji. The story a powerful person lies to hide is the story that must be told. I refuse to allow Cenk Uygur to tell my story about why I unionized. It wasn't a political ploy. It's because I felt like I was being wage thefted. I wanted health insurance and paid days off. Those 20 days I didn't get paid for, $3,460. Hope Cenk bought something nice for himself. So, I've already talked about this a bit. I'll probably bring this up again at some day. In the second half of the clip at the top, Cenk insists he can't be a union buster because TYT has a union. I would love to hear other people get a hold of that. You know, somebody write about that. Like, that is some serious hogwash, man. That's why I'm saying, like, in the very most generous possible interpretation or offering of that interpretation, maybe he's not lying. But that's bullshit. I think, having seen all this, it is absolutely defensible that Cenk is lying when he says, no, I am definitely not a union buster. But I am making a distinction on that because in my case, I'm an original source on why the union started. That's why I'm confident using the word liar there. I know I say this a lot and I don't think it means anything, but like I'm sitting right where I started where I had the idea. All I do is sit in this fucking chair. But like it happened right here. when I was sitting there going, fuck this crap, I heard that story about that 2018 union effort that was very brief. It was just a couple of emails from what I know. So I know we had a contact. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to bring this up again. I don't want to just take it. I'm not somebody who just takes this shit. Frankly, I kind of wish I was. Probably saved me a lot of headache. So is Cenk saying this?
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster.
Is that a lie? Based on this evidence? Abso-fucking-lutely. Based on me not being an original source, as I am with the reason it started, you could parse this as technically that's his opinion, and that he doesn't think that this crap, that Cenk Uygur doesn't believe that this stuff is union busting. I don't know how you look at this and can this notice to employees from the NLRB. What's he afraid of? And he didn't let his company report on anything. While as a politician, it's because he's scared, man. It's because he doesn't want the word to get out. This thing with Hansi, with Scott on his Twitter, is like a big deal for the project I'm on here, because if finally somebody forced him to say something about it. If the progressive left isn't going to hold this dude accountable for union busting, and not just like the union busting, it's a bullying campaign. TYT union workers called it bullying. It's the intentional infliction of psychological harm on your workers to subjugate them. This is some class war shit, man. Not to mention anybody going to take umbrage on my behalf for the working conditions. So that's what I've been dialing this thing down to, is that the ethical boundaries that have been violated. There's 3 of them. Number 1 is the union busting itself. That needs to be called out. Union busting is disgusting. Union busting is an immoral thing to do. It's a really vile thing to do. It's an ethical violation that the left should hold accountable to someone on its left. If we can still consider TYT on the left. I know that's debatable. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings about that. 2, the lie. The conspiracy charge that they made against their own workers. The smear. They smeared my integrity and that of my friends about why the union started. They said it was a political ploy by Cenk's congressional opponents. This is multifaceted, this one. This one covers deceiving his audience, lying to the progressive sphere, too, using their trust in him as a weapon to create this cloud of obscurity, this fog that makes it hard to know what's going on. And it implies very directly that the workers who talked to the journalists lied and fabricated evidence. So, Cenk, prove that. Let's see your proof that those emails were fabricated and that every person that talked to a journalist was a liar. Because that's what you call in your workers when you insist on holding on to the official story that the union was originated by your political foes. And the 3rd ethical boundary is my employment conditions. Classifying somebody in order to keep their benefits is deeply fucking unethical. In California, felony theft kicks in at $950. Haas had Cenk on his live stream, some Thanksgiving debate, whatever, and he's going on and on about, you could just steal $950 and not go to prison. On my 20 days off alone, $3,460. If I got a full year's bonus, somewhere in here, if I got a full year's bonus, I would have gotten an extra $2,371. I worked full time the entire year, but I only got bonus for 79 days. They prorated it to the 3rd hiring date. Those 2 figures alone put us at close to $6,000. This news came out in 2022, so it doesn't apply to this situation, but it is relevant to the way our society views wage theft. This is from a law firm here. It says, in California, wage theft is now a felony. When a worker isn't paid what he or she is due is considered wage theft. Normally, we think of wage theft as an intentional act as opposed to an accidental misunderstanding or miscalculation of how much a worker must be paid. However, any wages, which include bonuses and commissions, can have a devastating impact on an employee. This is why it is considered wage theft. According to the Economic Policy Institute, billions of dollars in wages are stolen from workers by employers nationally every year. Wage theft is now a felony. California has strong wage theft laws allowing situations where wages are stolen to be treated as criminal grand theft, in addition to civil penalties allowing workers to sue for having wages stolen. It used to be that instances of wage theft were just misdemeanors. Now they are felonies. That means potential time in jail for employers who cheat workers out of wages. It also allows state prosecutors much more leeway in conducting investigations into wage theft. Things like grand juries or the issuance of search warrants can now be used by prosecutors seeking to prosecute wage and hour theft. The criminal penalties come into play when employers withhold or don't pay more than $950 to any one employee, or $2,350 from 2 or more employees in any 12-month period. Unlike many laws, this law applies even if the worker is an independent contractor, and it applies no matter how big the company or how many employees the employer has. I didn't include this graphic in the summary, but this is a good summary from the film of all the ways that Cenk did the union busting. And the sources for these are the 4 articles, TYT's posts, NLRB filings, and Cenk's own words in emails he sent to unionizing workers. You could read those on Alex Thompson's Twitter. That's like here, the emails from CEO pleading to not unionize. That's very coercive. Claims that unionization would bankrupt the company. That's in the emails. Claims that wage increases would take from other workers. That's in the emails. Those are classic union busting techniques. The only thing on this list here that's not a classic union busting tactic is publicly spreading conspiracy lies, RE, lies and misinformation, RE, boss's political career. That's why that earned a frown from Bernie Sanders. The frown of justice. So, compare that. Oh, God damn it, I keep doing it the wrong one. That's Haas saying his uncle violated labor regulations. All right, well, we're switching it over now to this one then. You already know what you're going to hear. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're near the end of the show. I'm not going to do a rambly wrap up here, but I do want you to compare this to this.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So,
well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother, you've had a nice run.
Don't bullshit me. All right. I think we're good. It's going to do its whole Donald Trump thing. He's dancing on C-SPAN. I'm not doing it. I think I've been going for several hours, but it is funny in the C-SPAN transcript, which is a great resource if you're looking for a fun Friday night, where they start doing this singing. You can see like the music note in the lyrics and stuff. It's just so wild. Yeah, you see all. It goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor falls, the major lifts. Hallelujah. And this fucking psycho's up on stage just swaying back and forth. Man. Not do any more questions? Let's just listen to music. Who the hell wants to hear questions? Isn't that beautiful? All right. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, so check out baldontheinside.substack.com. This article just went up. Got a ton of information. Look for that. The proof. 2 versions, 1 truth, evidence for my claims about the Young Turks. Give that a very close look. This is about my working conditions and about their claim about how the union started. This is not the evidence that we just went through. So yeah. All right. Well, I'm hungry and I got to watch and edit this whole goddamn thing, which I'm dreading right now, but I'm going to get it done. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Check out the other stuff. Thanks for being patient. I'm really not doing well, to be honest. I'm trying to get my shit together and make things happen, but I just can't seem to summon the intensity or the pace that's needed. So I don't know what I'm going to do. like I have about a month of money left, and then I mean I'll probably just start doing deliveries, which is devastating, but I'll do that. It's so hard. I can't. My wrist hurt when I drive, and I can't deal with it's overstimulating. I mean it's yeah. So that's not feeling good. But my point, I guess, is I'm gonna start shifting my efforts to something I can figure out to try to make money. I have to get rid of the cat, and I have to try to make money. I can't do any of this stuff. I have to put all my time into that, because the society we live in requires that you torture yourself if you're struggling, and if it's just so. I might do a GoFundMe for the film. I might just pull that lever, because I'm not, but I also have a lot of hesitation, because it's a big ask. It's a lot. I mean, meaning like it's a big lift for me, the amount of promotion it'll take to get it to do. But maybe I'll build some momentum from that, because it will be a promotional on its own. So hopefully that works, and somehow that's probably I should at least try it. And I suppose I could always do another one later if there's what the hell? Whoa. Okay. Sorry. Saw something on the screen. That's all. Good night. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Things are going to get better. I am going to be probably doing some video game shit on Suck Professor, my old channel, because I really need to make content that's not just politics that burns me out. As kind of been saying too. Part of my strategy is to sort of shift over to doing things that aren't so stressful, because I burn hard on these things. It takes me days to I don't know how to explain it, but so I look for some of that maybe. We're there. Things are good, but I'm hoping that this. I need to find a clearing in the bushes here a little bit. I feel like I'm really hacking through the thick brambles, and I could really use just a little break, but yet still make some forward progress on stuff. Because man, it's so fucking terrified. I'm so tired of being scared. I'm so tired of feeling fucking scared. All right, I'm pressing stop. Bye. See you later. Bye bye now. See ya. Bye bye.